Hello, hello. Welcome to day 2 of the Eric Twiname Team Racing Championships. We have the youths, the juniors and the super juniors out here, and we'll be bringing you the racing live very shortly. I'm Andy Brown, and I am joined by
Mark Trapp-Taylor.
Happy to have him here. We're just going to set you into a video on the tips and tricks of team racing just to get an idea, and then we're going to be into the racing on the juniors course very shortly indeed.
Our golden nugget is just to keep it simple and always keep trying, like never stop no matter what you're doing, because everything can happen in these races.
Yeah, and always sail fast. You can win every race by just sailing fast in the other boat.
We're from Pembrokeshire in Wales, somewhere called Nayland Yacht Club. One good piece of advice is to have fun, also try your best and don't give up.
Always have fun on the water and just enjoy everything.
Our strategy is to speak Welsh. To all those Welsh speakers, remember, speak Welsh is a good strategy.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm from Bermuda and I've been team racing for 12 years. My top tricks for team racing is to always have faith in your team and to always be good, well hydrated and have good food on the water. I'd say communication is really key, both on the water and when you come ashore. Talk about if mistakes have gone on, what we've done well and how we can improve together.
I'm from Newcastle. I sail with Durham Reservoir.
I'm from Harrogate. I sail at Yorkshire Dales. My one piece of advice was just get along with your crew and keep sailing fast. And yeah, as long as you got speed and you talk to your crew, do some good tactics, I probably get on.
Red and purple.
Yeah, so RHS purple in the grey boats, and then Winchester Fever in the red boats. One of the red boats sailing off out of shot. Unsure if they're aware that I think they are in sequence.
Maybe they're planning on coming in with quite a lot of speed. They've appeared in shot now.
They saw that the yellow boats in the previous had a pretty good port flyer, so I'd say it's pretty risky going off that end. If you're the port boat coming back before the start, it gives the opposition a lot of opportunity to starboard you. And one of the quirks of before the start, you've got some extra rules that are happening where there's no proper course before the start. So if you are a leeward boat, you have no proper course. You can luff the boat up all the way to head to wind. You can even force them beyond head to wind. As long as you don't tack, you haven't infringed at all. So right now, Reds are closer to the line, and they managed to get a tack in, but that red boat in 11 is on port. They have to keep clear of all the other starboard boats. See how they duck to avoid the grey boat there.
And looks like the two red boats are actually interfering with each other, which is never ideal. You don't want that. But it does look like, although the purple boat number 10 is in the lead currently, it looks like red are in the two free positions. Having said that, the purple boat number 10 does have a good cover on number 12, the red boat, and it's going to be hard for the red boat to actually execute attack and come back in towards the mark there. On the other side of the screen, the far side of the screen, you have the red boat 11 coming in potentially to back up their teammate there and get a bit closer to them. And further to the right, you have the other purple boat who look to be slightly outside the mix. So boat 10 does have a pretty difficult, purple boat 10 does have a pretty difficult job of not only holding up boat 12, but also allowing their teammate to come back into the race.
Oh, you see 12 deciding to go for a jibe. Obviously, didn't think that they could tack out, which I think is sensible, and then going for a jibe just to get themselves out of being held there. But it looks like the 10s have done a pretty good job. So they went in fourth position. The Greys were in fourth position, but because of the work of 10, they're now possibly even in a 1. I think they're in a 2-3. So we've gone from a 1-4 to a 2-3. That's great work from the Greys.
Really tight race, this actually. This is team racing. This is what you like to see. We've got 1-4 and a 2-3. 2-3 a winning position, but as you can see, 12, it's so tight at the back, and yeah, they're right in the mix. Pulling an overtake currently on the purple boat 9, turning a 1-4 into 1-3 at least, potentially a 1-2.
Yeah, so let's see if the 12 just showing a little bit of burn of pace. That was very, it was nice. Once again, you can't, you can only be a good tactician if you've got good pace, but 10, once again, 10 is the leeward boat, so 10 is further from the wind. That means that they have rights over 12, because 12 is the windward boat, it is closer to the wind. If you are a windward boat, you must keep clear of the leeward boat. 10 using that rule effectively, and that allowed to get their teammate through. Now that 10 has jibed, the boat 10 is now the windward boat, is the keep clear boat. This is what's great about team racing, is just it's constantly changing. It is a moving chessboard at all times. Number 9, I think, might be in first here. I think they have room, and I've seen a red flag coming from the competitors. A red flag from the competitor is a protest. It's a signal to the umpire to say, I think they have infringed on me. I want you to make a decision. I think they should. They've broken a rule. The umpires then, if it is a valid protest, and they've heard the competitors say protest and there is a red flag, they then have a decision to make. And I can see a red flag is coming from the umpire. So if it comes from the umpire, one of the boats has to do a 720. That's 2 tacks, 2 jibes, and in these conditions, that's an expensive mistake coming from the Reds.
That's going to really take some good sailing by the Reds teammate there to get them back in the race after a 720. A 720, as you said, in these conditions, pretty hard to execute.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a lot of steering. It just feels slow. Sometimes, if you think that you might get away with a 360, if a protest has happened against you, you can voluntarily take a 360, at which point the umpires don't get involved. So the umpires have a couple of decisions. They've either got red flag or green flag. If a red flag comes to your way today, it's painful.
And you can see the red boat there holding up, probably to try and target boat 10. And as you said earlier, try and get that third boat. Swap. But you can clearly see the purple boat there. They're really sailing a good race.
So 12 now, I think they've switched tactics. 10 has gone off quite far. 12 is desperately trying to... They are leeward boat. They currently have luffing rights, which means they can go above their proper course. But I think the Greys are going to extend beyond them. I think they're going to get themselves into a 1-2 position. So now, Reds, if they can stop the Greys from tacking, that boat number 10, I think they'll have to tack in order to reach the finish line. If the 12s, who are on starboard, if they can catch 10, so 10 is wise to that and ducks underneath. I think 12 could have had an opportunity there, but looks like the Greys, all they need to do is finish. And you can see right at the back, there is the red. So that infringement, that red flag for the umpire, cost them dearly and definitely cost them the race.
Break the rules, and unfortunately sometimes you pay the price. Really aggressive, tight racing by the red team, and they were in a leading position, but unfortunately pushed things slightly too far and got that 720 penalty. But really well done by the purple boats, and yeah, very, very well sailed race. That was a really tight race from start to finish, actually.
Yeah, that was great tactics from both, and slightly better executed from the RHS purple.
Okay, we're back to the start line here. We have yellow versus black.
So we've got the CCS RT Waves in black, and we've got NASA Red in the yellow again. So we saw yellow execute a pretty fine port flyer last time. It looks like we've got a nice start from the front two, not so nice start from the back.
And you'll often see this in team racing. They'll pair up effectively, so it's effectively like two little match races, and then the overall team points dynamic comes into it. So yellow will be looking back and seeing, where's my teammate? Am I extending out the front? Does my teammate have a chance to join me in second or third, or do I need to hang back and effectively try and make the race come a bit more together? And currently you've got yellow in 1-4 and black slowing up there in 2 and 3.
So you saw black attacking and yellow immediately responding, just so they stay on top of black. It's a huge advantage. You want to position yourself between the wind and the opposition, or between the mark and the opposition. That's one of the biggest match racing or team racing tactics. Always put yourself between the next mark and your opposition, because then they have to go through you.
And you can see black there, boat number 2 in second, trying to set up a trap for the yellow boat in third, but whether or not they'll manage to, they might have pulled that starboard a bit early, and yeah, we'll need to tack across.
Yeah, so 2 still in a pretty good position. You can see the gap between the boat in first and the boat in second. If I was in first, I'd be slowing down here, because I know that black is going to be pulling something and attacking my teammate. I would not be going round Mark 2. Yes, you're in first right now, but you're not in a stable combination. A stable combination in two-boat team racing is a 1-2. That's the most stable. Maybe a 2-3, that's relatively stable, but a 1-3, you are leaving your teammate out to dry. If the boat in second decides to do something, then the yellow boat in third could get just completely done over. If black just slows down here, if they slow down here, they could attack the boat in yellow. That's what I want to see from good team races. It's every single opportunity, every mark, every leg is an opportunity to be attacking backwards, and they should be attacking backwards. You've got golden opportunity right now, boat 2.
Let's see, maybe they'll have a plan in place. Looks like they're jibing around and initiating it. Yep.
So
yeah.
Boat in 2 is now leeward boat. They have luffing rights. They are, so you can see the yellow boat has to keep clear until they meet the mark room. So if they go inside that 2-boat zone, the yellows then get mark room. I think that has happened. I think the black didn't do it quite early enough, and they have to give mark room to yellows.
We'll see whether there's a protest about that situation. If not, it was very well executed by boat 2 to get their boat at the back in the mix, because it looks like, although the black boat at the back needs to leave room, they may be able to sweep around the outside there, turning a 2-4 into potentially a 2-3.
Yeah, it's tricky to tell at this point. Quite often, if you are slow and smooth, so if you're outside, on the outside, you could have a nicer turn around Mark 3.
It looks like there was a red flag there. Looks like there was a red flag by the jury boat.
And yellows are having to spin, so it looks like yellows in that, I don't think they had entered the 2-boat length zone before they said, no, I'm going to take my room. And I think that's what the umpires pinned them for.
We're just changing feed there into our new drone. So we're re-engaging with that race at the front now.
So yellow's in a 1-4 still. Boat in first is starting to come down onto boat in second. And once again, that's an umpire red flag. That's 720 for the yellows. They're still having to complete that spin. So it's so costly in these conditions. You really have to sail clean to sail fast. And if you're sailing fast, well, you're probably going to
a penalty at a similar point to those key moments of the race. And as you said, if you don't play those correctly and do get that 720, it becomes pretty hard for you to sail and win that race. So the yellow team will be having a tough time of it currently.
Yeah, so they're doing covering the boat below them and things like that. I would just abandon first. I would put myself in second, give myself best opportunity to attack third, because then there's less work to do to try and get fourth into fourth. But it looks like yellows have actually crossed the line anyway. So 1-4 for the yellows, and I think that's how it's going to shake out.
I think their coach will be talking to them about that, because that does seem like a bit of a needless move. They could have easily jibed round and gone back to attack the black in third. Seems like a missed opportunity there. I'd be interested to hear why they decided to cross that line in that position. They'll be talking to their coaches now, debriefing, focusing on improvements for the next race, and really sailing is a constant learning curve. Often in some sports you reach the peak at around 20 to 23, 24 years old, and that's the peak of your ability. In sailing, often it's pushed later, and actually it takes a long time to become a master at sort of that Olympic champion level of sailing. So they'll be learning constantly, and it's a long
old journey.
Long old journey, yeah, indeed.
And then a lot of those journeys actually start here at the Eric Twiname juniors. We've also got the super juniors who are even younger. It's one of my favourite events throughout the year. So many teams, so many volunteers, parents, sailors. It's such nice vibes when we come down here. So I highly encourage, if you've never competed at the Eric Twiname team racing, give it a go. If you are a local sailing club and you want to get involved in a bit of team racing, there's a wealth of opportunities that the RYA and other clubs and other bodies run. It's such a fun sport. One of my favourite things about it is the fact that it is a team sport. Sailing can sometimes be a little bit isolating, solitary if it's just you in the boat. Here you've got, quite often you're in a two-person boat, and also you've got a team with you, and you go all the way through from, I started when I was 13, and now I'm older than that. Yeah,
I started a similar time actually. It's a long journey, but it's often once you start sailing and get into this sport, people stay in for life. And it's quite funny, from my junior teams and my teams at the start, the same people are still involved in sailing in various forms or another, working in Sail GP, Olympic sailing, various bits and bobs. But on the screen now, we can see another race about to start between the Greys and the Reds. Look like the Greys are in a very strong position there.
Yeah, so the Greys, we've got Rutland Ospreys, and then the red we've got Winchester Fever. Greys, lovely start off the line. They've both split as well, so quite often, especially on a fluky day like today, you don't know what the wind's going to do. If you can, you want one of your teammate to go left and one of your teammate to go right. That way, if there are gains to be made, one of you at least is benefiting from the change in the wind.
You can see that strategy executed perfectly there. One right, one left, and the red boat trying to chase down. That's all they can really do at that stage, with their teammate just about to cross the start line. So a late start by them. They ran out into difficulty, and the red boats will really need to sail well to get back into this race.
Yeah, you love to see some synchronised tacking from the Greys, so they've obviously thought about this. At this point, the Greys will be thinking, extend our gap. So we just want to push, go as fast as possible. We want to get this race finished with 1-2. You want to keep an eye on the boat behind, but really you want to focus on getting this race finished.
Yeah, certainly. As you said, the Greys sailing it very well. They're just tacking round there now for the reach, and red boat, although is in touching distance, especially with that downwind element you said earlier, where there is chance to gain a lot, they might get back into it, and then it's their job to really aggressively, and I mean very aggressively, sail one of the grey boats back, because their teammate, the red teammate, is lagging quite far behind.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a gap between 3 and 4, I got to say. As the grey boats came in towards each other, there was a bit of a... It can sometimes be the case that you're just getting in each other's way. You do have to plan for these things. But looks like they've got a pretty nice pace. And at this point, I wouldn't exactly relax, but I would certainly be thinking, okay, I'm quite comfortable here. I'll let my teammate go into first, and I'll just keep my eyes on third, but just sail my own race.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it does go down like this in team racing. Really great executed, really well executed race by Grey there. They won it at the start, and they've been, effectively keeping a solid lead and working together there. Although, you can see it sort of coming a bit more together now. They look like they've ran into a bit of light winds there, the Greys.
Also, for some reason, there seems to be a tactic. Well, it's not a tactic. It's somewhat of a misconception of, if I'm stood up, I must be going faster. You're not. Trust me, you're not. If you are stood up in a boat, your centre of gravity is actually higher, and that makes the boat much more wobbly, much more tippy, and that just reduces the flow of air and over the sail. So you want to be sat, steady, calm, and relaxed, and that will get your boat sailing fast. So now you can tell boat 10 just thinking, oh, I'm a little bit nervous now actually, because 12 is on the inside of me, and they could possibly overtake me here because they've got a little bit better breeze. 10, it's a little bit stressful for 10 right now.
Yeah, and especially with 11, red 11 coming back into the mix, coming back connected, and although in port they'll be jibing round now, or potentially not.
Interesting.
Just choosing to carry on further and potentially come around the outside. Yeah, they're jibing off now, and now we've got a race.
So now, if boat in 11 can keep their pace with 10, they would be on the inside track. That means that they would have room at Mark 3. Currently, I think boat number 9 is just jibing towards Mark 3. 12's following. So we've got, and it looks like 11, I think, does have room. At least they're going for it. 10's probably going to say, oh, you don't have room, you can't go in there. But 11's going for it, and I think they're fine.
Yeah, I think that was a well-executed manoeuvre there by 11, although now 10...
It's got good pace.
Yeah, really good pace around that. And, yep, that was really well done by 10.
So 10 now thinks, okay, I've got great pace. What is my next thing to do? And 12 is probably thinking, I need to get down onto 10. 10's got absolutely screaming ahead. These two down below. Obviously, 12 was been holding 9 up. So 9 was windward boat. 12 had luffing rights, was leeward boat, so they had right of way, and they just slowed 9, and you can see suddenly the race is completely changed in just one leg.
Yeah, exactly. We've got red in that 2-3 currently winning manoeuvre, winning position, but they'll be doing their best. Yeah,
it looks like Greys have tacked to cover the reds, so now it looks like the Greys are probably in a better position, because Greys, if you're ever not sure in a team race, quite often you can say, okay, who's winning the pair? Who's winning pairs? And it looks like the Greys might be winning both pairs. They're certainly not in 4th. That's for sure. The Reds are now definitely in 4th. Grey have done a great position of just holding that boat, stopping them from tacking. Reds finally tack, but it's slow. The Grey boat hopefully had a nice attack, and yeah, the Greys have done a great job of just controlling. Reds have just been forced into first, and Grey tacks away, make sure that their friends are fine. Looks like we're in a decent 2-3. They'll communicate to each other. Boat in third will say, yeah, I'm good, go over the line. That is some really nice team racing from Greys. They had it at the start. They had 1-2. Boat speed let them down, but they managed to bring it back with some decent tactics and good covering upwind.
Really great communication there, and that's the element of team racing and the team that you can really see. The purple holding back and just making sure that they will win that position across the line and guarantee their first position, their overall winning team position. Really well sailed by purple, and interestingly enough, an incredibly tight race from that fairly disjointed start.
Yeah, that's the thing about team racing, is quite often, especially in these conditions, you think it's a big 1-2, and then suddenly you're going to have to swing really quite a lot of effort to get yourself that win, which, well done to the Rutland Ospreys.
Yeah, well done.
Coming back towards the red and blues. We've got, or is that orange, I think? Tough to tell from here. I think we've got CCS RT Waves in orange, and then Sevenoaks Grey in the dark blue.
Yeah, exactly. And you see them really tightly manoeuvring around each other there. It looks like they want that committee boat end of the line, and looks like they're all lining up on starboard. Currently, the red leading the pack, but it's all really tightly mixed, and we'll see how aggressive they get prior to this start.
So one of the things, particularly, like you said, a lot of jostling for the committee boat end. You don't have room at the start. That's one of the biggest tactics when you're doing pre-start. You don't have room, so you can't just squeeze in there. So if you are a leeward boat, quite often you want to push the windward boat out of the way, and then you start and they're stuck on the wrong side of the start line. They have to do a whole 360 to try and get back, and that's kind of that's a big win. If you're starting and you've squeezed the opposition out at the boat, they're going to have to do a full 360, or else you fast forwarding up the first beat. Looks like we've all come down the line a little bit. We're in the last minute. Blues start to accelerate. Let's see, there's a great line. And no one was over, all clear. Fantastic start from boat 5. That was inch perfect.
Yeah, it made me worried for a second there. It was a very tight start, but very well executed by 5. And that really just gives them options. They can look back and see, preferably they'll see number 6 in that third position, or even better in that second position, and then they're just sailing fast. But currently it looks like 7 is covering boat 6, so they might be going back to effectively attack that covering boat and hopefully get into a 1-2 position by the first mark.
Yeah, that's a lovely move from the Blues, just tacking on top of the opposition. What we sometimes call this, the American name for this, I believe, is the soap dish. When you have two boats either side of the opposition, and the opposition should get spat out the back. Looks like the Blues gave up on that and just said, well, I'm going to go for first. They definitely need to get first, unstable combination.
And you can see that really there. Currently boat 6 couldn't tack, and it has now been allowed to tack, potentially a little bit too early. I might have sailed that blue boat a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. I would really hammer home that advantage, that because the boat in red, they absolutely had them dead to rights. Now they've allowed blue into third. They could have just sailed them off. Maybe blue would have even had to jibe out. Instead, the reds now in a 2-4. You could have had a really decent, stable 2-3.
Exactly. That move was almost executed perfectly, but they just didn't quite.
Yeah, absolutely. There wasn't quite the killer instinct. One of the favourite things about team racing is really, really getting the job done in that sense. You can be aggressive in your sailing, probably not in your shouting or behaviour or anything like that, but in your sailing you can really get in the way and just grind the opposition down so that your teammates are well ahead, and then you decide when you want to tack. 7s, again, hitting back. Looks like got a spin there.
Yeah, it does look like blue is now in that very strong, stable although not by a comfortable margin.
Yeah, it looks like if the red boat can get themselves a little bit further left, they could be covering the blue boats. It's a very short run, this. I know certain team racing events, they really love a long run. Makes things a lot more interesting, gives the opposition a lot of time to catch up. 8's in a really nice position. They're totally on the 5's wind right now, but they are windward boat. They have to keep clear. And 5 can quite happily take their time. They can just sail round, get themselves a round in front, and Red's still in the 3-4, close to 3-4. So at this point, the Blues need to be thinking, okay, how are we going to attract this beat? What I want is my blue boat in second. I want them going up the starboard side. I want them going up the starboard side just so that they can come back on starboard and they'll have rights. If you suddenly shoot off left, you might leave yourself vulnerable. When you come back towards the finish line, you put yourself on port. So I like the fact that the Blues, their first boat has gone up the left. The second boat stays on the right, waits to get onto the ley line so that they only have to do one tack. And the blue boats, boat in first, they really seem to know what they're doing because they've just tacked to make sure that they were covering the red boats. Red boat tacks underneath the blue boat. I would have kept going a little bit. You could have gone a couple of boat lengths, maybe get a little bit of pressure on top of the Blues, make them nervous about tacking. Right now, Blues 1-2, they've got all the options. I think job done.
Yeah, really looks like job done there. Very well sailed by the blue. Tight race. Very well sailed also by, I believe that's the orange boats crossing the line now. Orange, red, very close colours. And they're just crossing the line now. So that's very well done by the blue. We're just going to bring you a video. Earlier on, we saw a very tight race by the yellow team, and we're just going to bring you a quick video from them now. This is in regards to tips and tricks on the race course, and we're just going to bring you it now.
Our golden nugget is just to keep it simple and always keep trying, like never stop no matter what you're doing, because everything can happen in these races.
Yeah, and always sail fast. You can win every race by just sailing fast in the other boat.
We're from Pembrokeshire in Wales, somewhere called Nayland Yacht Club. One good piece of advice is to have fun, also try your best and don't give up.
Always have fun on the water and just enjoy everything.
Our strategy is to speak Welsh. To all those Welsh speakers, remember, speak Welsh is a good strategy.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm from Bermuda and I've been team racing for 12 years. My top tricks for team racing is to always have faith in your team and always be good, well hydrated and have good food on the water. I'd say communication is really key, both on the water and when you come ashore. Talk about if mistakes have gone on, what we've done well and how we can improve together.
I'm from Newcastle. I sail with Rutland Rascals.
I'm from Harrogate. I sail at Yorkshire Dales. My one piece of advice was just get along with your crew and keep sailing fast. And yeah, as long as you got speed and you talk to your crew, do some good tactics, I probably get on well.
My one piece and tip of advice is to sail people off the line. As we are sailing Fevers with 2 people in the team, one goes and takes one boat off port and one takes starboard. I crewed, so listen to the helm, otherwise they get very angry.
Okay. So hi, I'm Ewan.
Hi, I'm Ola.
I've been team racing for 2 weeks now.
I've been team racing for a year and a bit. Yeah, give it a go. It's lots of fun and just know your rules and try and sail as fast as you can.
Always communicate, always communicate.
Try not to argue because that's not great.
Welcome back. We just initiated a swap of course. You just witnessed the junior racing. We had some great races with the junior sailors there, and that's 4-boat team racing. And as Mark said earlier, we're now moving, or trap I should call you, we're moving to 6-boat racing now, and this is with the youths.
Yeah, so just to remind everyone that 3-boat team racing is 3-on-3. You've got the same course, so beat, a reach, run, reach, beat back up to the finish. It's 3-on-3, and we're sailing in Fireflies. So if your points add up to 10 or less, you are winning. That is the trick. So we've got yellows versus blues, I believe. So in yellows, we've got Ride on Time, and then MCS for blues, which I think is Morden College.
We've got some very tight racing, even tighter racing probably coming up with the 6 boats on the course. Although slightly more complex to follow, it does add an extra element to this racing, and these juniors will be going onto this 6-boat format, I'm sure, as they develop.
Yeah, absolutely. So quite often start with the 2-boat in the Fevers, and then progress up to the 3-boat in Fireflies. Starting is a little bit different. Quite often you will see pairing off. What you tend to want to have is one boat on the pin end, so at the port end. You want one at the middle, and then you want one on the starboard end. If you're winning all 3 ends on the start, you're in a great position and you've set yourself up for the rest of the race. One of the tactics that you might see throughout the day is who is leading going into the start line, and who is chasing going into the start line. If you are on a day like today, it's quite light. Quite often the advantage is going to be with the person who is leading. They're closer to the start line. It's easier to kill time on a day like today. You're not being rushed towards the start line. And then if you're behind, it's very difficult to overtake in these kind of conditions if you are just behind another boat. So if I were saying my Fireflies with my teammates, I'd be saying, right guys, this is definitely leading weather. You don't want to go too far away from the start line, but obviously you don't want to be over either. If you're over, it's a nightmare, because at which point you have to sail underneath the start line again. You have to go all the way back, maybe round the start boat or round the pin end, and then you have to restart the race. So if you're over, it can be very, very costly. The good thing about it is, because it's not a timed event, it's just who's first. If you're a second or two late and the other boat's behind you, that's fine. As long as you're winning, doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. So often you may see these guys, it seems like they start late, but it doesn't really matter. The position across the line takes precedent to the timing.
Yeah, that's absolutely one of my favourite things about team racing. These boats are matched. They're exactly the same. They're built at exactly the same time. Hopefully they are looked after in the same way by the same people. So there's really no difference between them. The difference is the sailors. That's the difference. You come into the boat, you set it up the way you want it, and then you sail it the way you want it, and it's always the same. Even if
that's the start just gone there.
Yellows look like yellow is over, having to go back. So it looks like 2 yellows are over. Ooh, that's going to be costly.
And that is going to be a really tough place for the yellows to come back on. It's all on yellow boat 9 there to pull off a miracle.
Absolutely. You've got a lot of work. You've got 2 boats to try and slow down. One is right behind you. You're in an okay position on 11, but 12 is above you, probably had decent breeze. If I was 9, I'd tack right now. Tack and stick with boat number 11 and try to keep in touch with the blues. Because if you find yourself in first and second in a team race, then all you want to do is extend. So 9 coming back to sail after 11, but 9 just needs to go for pace. The most powerful position quite often in a team race is in second. If you're in second, you've got a chance. So 9, you just need to get yourself into second. Hope that this boat 12 does a poor tack, something like that. So your focus is on pace right now, just going as quickly as possible, get yourself up the beat, try and get yourself into second. They're not in a terrible position for it. It looks like 12 has just good pace over the top. I reckon 12 could tack there and they'd make it past 9. I think they're going to cross them.
Yeah, and exactly. And the aim of this racing, you need to score 10 points or less to win. So 1, 2, 6, that would be less than 10 points. So actually, if the first and second position in the team extends and becomes unreachable by the other team, it doesn't matter really what their third member finishes at all.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, sometimes, I mean, obviously this is within reason, but boat in the third can play interference. If you've got a 1, 2, 3, my favourite job is being in 3. Call it Captain Chaos. You don't care how long you take to finish, as long as you've got first and second. You can then just start attacking back just because you can. You want to extend the gap between your teammates and yourself, and you can just keep 3 boats behind you, keep them real slow, just because on a day like today you don't know if the weather's going to suddenly change, and that your work at Mark 1 could make all the difference at the finish line. So in third, you run interference, whilst the first and second go as fast as possible.
Yeah, exactly. But even this race where we've got current 1-2 for blue, things can change very quickly. There's not enough distance between the boat in second, 12th, and 7th. The boat number 7, yellow, really to guarantee the victory, especially with that blue boat actually being in 4th position. There is a chance for that yellow boat in 3rd to catch up with the second blue boat and hold them up enough to change the dynamics of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I was in boat 11, I would not think about chasing the boat in front of me. I would focus on boat number 9 behind me. First off, it heightens the likelihood of you actually winning. Secondly, it's great practice. Thirdly, it's great fun.
Exactly. This is really fun racing, and that's why it's so popular in uni racing and another sort of racing across the UK. We're going to swap now, as that 1-2 position did look pretty solid, so that looks like it will be a win, and we're going to swap to a new race, and this is black and yellow.
Yeah, so in black we've got Rutland Rascals, and then in yellow we've got Scaling Dam SC. Having just started, my money is probably on black. They look like I have a pretty nice positioning. 3 boat is even more complicated, especially up the beat, to try and spot who's actually winning. If you know you're winning or you know you're losing, you can then execute the plan faster. So if you can figure out if you're winning or losing, you actually know what to do then. Once again, my little go-to is how many pairs are we winning? If you're winning 2 pairs out of the 3, you're winning the race. If you're losing 2 pairs, you're losing the race. So without even knowing if you're at a 1-4-5 or a 1-3 or something like that, if you're winning 2 pairs, which it looks like these black boats are, possibly even winning 3 pairs. Let's see if 15 can get the yellow boat on starboard. So
Ooh,
15,
it's going to be tight there.
I think yellow just about did enough to get themselves out of trouble. But they are still in 3rd, so it looks like a 1-2-4 for the blacks.
Looks like that left-hand side of the course really came out for the black team there. The yellows that went to the right, although they were slightly further behind in the start line, have really lost some distance to the rest of the fleet there.
Now it looks like black is sailing quite low on this reach. What they're doing is they're trying to get the yellow boat to windward of them. Yellow boat trying to get on the inside. If they are overlapped with that black boat 14. If they're overlapped as 14 enters the 2-boat zone, then the yellow boat has room.
But looks like the yellow boat is doing a 360. Not quite sure why that is the case, but obviously they feel like they infringed upon a...
I think they're taking a 720. That must have been an umpire decision. So it looks like this is 1, 2, 3 for the blacks. At this point, sail your race, just go fast.
We're going to move back to the start line. In a 1-2-3 possession, it's very hard to change the status quo, especially with that boat in third. Effectively, the only job is to hold up the rest of the team members. We're moving in, and we've got the race between red and grey.
Yes, so in grey we've got Sedberg School A, and in red we've got Derbyshire. The entirety of Derbyshire has turned up to support.
Looks like a tighter race here, although it will really depend how that red boat on the far side, comes in to the mark. There's a bit of separation here on the course.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's quite tricky to tell when they come back in. The left side looks like it's just got a bit more breeze, I would say. But the right-hand side is, if you go up the right-hand side, you've got less distance to cover from the start boat to the first mark.
And of course, you're approaching that mark on starboard tack, which you're always going to be able to tack.
Yeah, absolutely, and you've got the right over anyone coming in on port. So reds in a 1. And as they come in on starboard, that grey boat, I think they've got enough to get over the top of that red boat. So it looks like they're in a 1, 3, 4 for the reds. Once again, grey, boat 22 is in such a 23. Sorry, is in such a powerful position. It could really do some damage here. Reds need to change this 1-3 into a 1-2, and that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah, you'll see that boat in first waiting up for that grey boat in second, and that's in order to, if they match race them and the red boat currently in first ends up in third position, that's still potentially converting a 1-3-4 into a 1-2-3.
Yeah, that was really nice from the reds. Not quite close enough. Greys are still in a position to do some damage, but they are in a 1-2 right now, so they've definitely converted themselves into a more stable winning combination. And it looks like if 19 can keep their pace on, they might even get around the front of 23. 23 is just desperately trying to hang on. They're on starboard right now. They are leeward boat. They have a lot of rights. If 19 can get ahead of them, they won't have to give them room at the mark. However, 19 have done their job really well. They've got 20 and 21 in first and second. 20, if 23 can get on the left of them before 20 reaches that 2-boat length zone, they get room, but I think 20 is fine. They're in a 1-2, and it looks like the reds in a 1-2. As you come round the bottom reach, there's a lot on for 23. 23 is going to try and get in here on boat 19.
I think they've just about managed. They're putting in a protest there. I think that'll be an umpire decision whether it comes through, because it doesn't look like the red boat below is about to do a 360. Potentially they feel like that was a bit of a late mark room manoeuvre.
And I can see a red flag has come from the umpire, and it is actually boat 23, the boat who protested. They were the ones who got spun. So that is one of the things of team racing. Sometimes you can you put up a red flag and you say, oh, they broke the rules, and the umpire say, no, you broke the rules. Actually, you're doing the 720. And at this point, bottom reach, 1 leg to go. Reds are in a 1-2-3. Big wins for the Reds. Greys in 4-5-6 with 6 still spinning. Not looking good.
Looks like that's a tough position for the Greys there, and really that's likely going to be the race there.
Yeah, absolutely. Reds enjoy your time sailing. Make sure you get a bit of practice on covering. But yeah, you can not totally switch off, but you can relax a little bit. Keep everything smooth. Smooth boat is a fast boat.
We're just approaching the next start of the race. That looks like they've just gone, and this is blue versus all white.
According to K-Sail, Andy, it's cream.
Cream.
Which obviously you can tell from the screen is cream. You've got dark blue and cream. Cream is Cokethorpe, and in dark blue we've got Oxford Pirates blue. It's always nice when the colours match up. So dark blues is Oxford Pirates blue. Cokethorpe is in cream.
We've just changed drone feed there. We're going to be reattaching to the racing very shortly. We're managing 2 drones simultaneously, so we'll be re-engaging with the race now. Yep, and that's the blues and the creams. You can tell very clearly that it is indeed cream, not white.
Absolutely. Looks like the creams have done a pretty nice job from the start. Interesting that they went very, very far right. We haven't seen that from many competitors so far. Maybe they've seen a bit of breeze over there.
Yeah, exactly. And looks like the creams are in a dominating position there.
Yeah. So in these competitions, you start off the competition with a round robin. At these competitions, especially the youth and juniors, you can get some very experienced sailors and team racers against not quite so experienced sailors and team racers. Through the magic of the Swiss League, as the rounds continue, you often find that then you'll be racing against people of similar caliber to yourselves. I won't go into the logistics of how the Swiss League operates. It's all very clever and it's above my pay grade. But as the rounds continue, you often find that you'll
Hi guys, we are back with the juniors now. We're back to the juniors, so we just saw the 6-boat racing with the youth, and now we're back to the junior course.
I think the greens and blues are the competitors coming into the start line. So in blue we have RGS Junior, and then in the greens we have Sevenoaks Blue. Looks like we are within 1 minute, so the greens setting up nicely, quite close to the line. You do want to be closer to the line in these conditions, but as long as you're not too close that you're over, you have to be aware of someone. If a boat comes below you, and if you're close to the start line, your windward boat, you have to keep clear, and keeping clear might involve going over the start line. And if you're over the start line, you have to start again. So it's the little gamble that you play. Can you position your boat nicely enough? It's a lovely position to see who's going to be over and who's all clear.
Ooh, it looks like a tight start. Let's see.
I think green might have been over there if they...
Yeah.
So blues, 1-2 off the start line, nicely timed. Greens, just a little bit too early. It was close, it was about less than a foot in it, but it cost them quite a bit. 3-4 off the line, and 4 is currently facing the wrong way, so I would say advantage to blues.
Yeah, it does look like a fairly substantial advantage to blue. Things can tighten back up. It looks like the ones at the back have not given up, and they are now heading the correct direction at least.
Yes, definitely helps in sailing is usually in the correct direction. Sometimes team racing, yes, it can be as if the boats are facing in the wrong direction, but often that's later on in the race, not at the start. Sadly, I must admit, the greens are my old school. That's my that is the who I used to race with.
But we'll keep hope for you.
Absolutely.
They are look like they're gaining, and potentially the blues might make an error, and that is what the guys at the back, your old school, are going to be really hoping for now. Is not they need to sail a perfect race, but they also need blue to make an error or have an extreme case of bad luck. Sometimes you do sail into no wind, and then especially on the downwind you mentioned, the wind comes from behind, so there is a chance to catch back up, but there is a fair distance behind, and if blue sail safely, and if blue sail conservatively, and if blue sail fast, it's going to be very hard for the boats behind to catch up.
Yeah, in these kind of conditions sometimes, not that I ever really want to be in a large 3-4 in a team race, but if you are, you've got to treat each point as a learning opportunity. At this point, you can say, okay, well, we've probably lost this race. However, I'm getting time on the water. What can I work on? I'm just going to work on speed. I'm going to work on staying calm when I'm losing. I'm going to work on communication. Maybe I think, okay, I want to look at the gusts and think, how good am I at counting down my gusts? Things like that. Sailing is the thing that keeps us coming back to it time and time again, is you will never, ever sail a perfect race. Doesn't matter who you are. If you've won 15 gold medals at the Olympics, you know that you can always sail it just that little bit better. It's one of those sports where there's no such thing as perfection, and that's why we love it so much. So if I were in this kind of setup where you think, well, okay, this is a bit rubbish, you then turn it into, well, what can I do to improve myself for the next race? And the next race and the next race. These guys have got a long career ahead of them, hopefully, in sailing and team racing as well. And all of it builds towards just the enjoyment of the sport.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll be loving it. The team racing is really great as well, as everyone, tell me if I'm wrong, but everyone usually races everyone. So everyone has the opportunity to show their mettle on the course, and the winner certainly deserves the victory.
Yeah, so if you're having a round robin, everyone will race everyone. If you're having Swiss League, sometimes the top will float to the top, and so the top end will be racing each other. Then the less experienced will be racing each other, and it makes it a little bit more even. But in a round robin, everyone races everyone, and again, as you go through the years, quite often you've raced you've raced people for years, and you know them, you see them each weekend, and you really build friendships despite the fact that you're on opposite teams. And if you're in the game long enough, you'll race with each other, you'll race against each other, and it's all just a game at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Quite often you'll have Olympic athletes competing right at the top of the Olympic Games, and they'll have been competing with a similar determination right back at the start, potentially at the Eric Twiname Championships.
Quite possibly, yeah, quite possibly. Every so often the Olympic team will come and do a little bit of team racing, sometimes at the Wilson Trophy. Shout out to the Wilson Trophy in West Kirby Sailing Club if you're listening. Every so often the Olympic team might come along, and it's always great fun to see how sailing and team racing is initially. It is a race. It's getting your boat faster than the other boats, and even the Olympic teams, they'll do well, but quite often they won't quite have the tactics to actually win the competition or anything like that. But yeah, they are pretty good, those guys.
Yeah, exactly. And we are now in with the black and yellow boats. Looks like there's a split between two pairs. You've got the front pair, boat 2, black boat 2, and yellow boat 3. And then you've got the second pair further back, black boat there rounding the top mark. But we'll see how the tactics develop. It looks like the yellow boat in third is waiting up for their teammate.
So Derbyshire are in the yellows and Reading SC in the black. If I were in the black boat, I would be slowing myself down. Notice how, their sail is out. They're not going as fast as possible. That's because they know they're in an unstable position. So a 1-3 is an unstable position. Just because this boat, number 3 in second position, they've got a lot of power, possibility to upset this 1-3 and turn it into maybe a 1-4, which would be losing. So boat number 3, what you need to start thinking is, how am I going to attack this boat in third? So boat in third tacks, comes across and thinks, I need to get myself out of third. I want to get myself into second, preferably. Third, if you can just sail over the top of them and go faster than them, great. If you go over the top, they are leeward boat, so they've got luffing rights. If you try and go underneath, if you don't have room, you're not going to be allowed to sail between the opposition and the mark. So black trying to say, okay, maybe I can go low. What if I go high? Yellow boat, if they can keep pace with the black boat, they are currently leeward boat, and if they stay overlapped, they will have luffing rights. I think black has done enough to just outpace the yellows and has got themselves into a 1-2.
Yeah, look, black really dealt with that situation, being hunted down by yellow boat 3 quite well, and they've managed to slip around the outside, although they are incredibly tight, and still yellow boat 4 may have an opportunity to get back and attack that black boat 1.
Yeah, if yellow can jibe, they would get themselves onto starboard.
Oh, and yellow boat 3 getting to leeward of black boat 1.
Yeah, black boat 1, I think there was just a lot of steering, and I saw the stand-up tactic, and it's happening again, and standing up, again, it's just so slow in these Fevers. First, I think they've almost gone around Mark 4 at this point. They need to stay in touch. They could be attacking the boat in second right now and making life so much easier for their opposition, for their teammate. Black has gone a little bit too far round, and it looks like if black is now in a 1-4, it just means that the black in first has just so much more work to do. They could have kept in touch. Yellows, 2-3, pretty strong and stable combination for them. Now it looks like black is sailing back towards Mark 3.
It's interesting that only in team racing will you'll actually have someone actively sailing backwards.
Yeah,
once they've gone round marks. So that's interesting.
So they're sailing back towards Mark 3. They're getting themselves on starboard and positioning themselves to attack the boats in yellow. So black first and fourth. They can abandon first. So we just had a bit of checking on where the finish line is there. Black tacks their leeward boat on both of the yellows. They have luffing rights on both of the yellows. They can force both of those yellows up. If they can manage to get 2 boats for 1, that is great team racing for the blacks.
But
if the black has luffing rights, that is, if the yellows get ahead of them, then the blacks won't have luffing rights.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all become quite a tight race now.
But it looks like boat number 1 in fourth. Great pace from them. It's again, if you're sailing smooth, you can just catch up so quickly, and it looks like they'll actually get themselves into second, I'd say.
Yeah, it looks like they've overtaken into second, right round the outside. And what they'll be doing now is really trying to match race yellow boat 3, and hopefully convert it into a 2-free stable position.
Yeah, so it looks like 2, if they can get their pace on, they'll be over the top of 3. Looks like we're in a 2-3. That is pretty nice work from the black team. Yellow trying to get themselves clear air. Although I'm not entirely convinced what tack they're going for. Black boats now need to think, okay, I'll be covering my opposition. I need to put myself between the opposition and the breeze. Right now they're covering each other. If I were boat 2, I would be tacking to cover the opposition boat.
Yes, having said that, it looks like it's tough progress for yellow boat 3 on the right of your screen there. It looks like it really took them quite a while to make a relatively small amount of distance, and it is incredibly tight racing. Looks like black is in the advantage position. The yellow boat in yellow boat 4 does not have rights currently, so it's going to be really tough for them in that position.
But if you look at the yellow boat over on the right, they've got pretty good pace. If they can just keep that pace going, yellow, if they can just slow the black in third currently, I reckon the yellows have actually got this.
Incredibly close race here.
I think the yellows are over. I think they've got one. I think they've got second and third. I think black is still yet to finish. If you're curious, you can always go to ksail.com. Fantastic website that gives you updated on all your team racing needs.
Wow, that was a tight, dynamic race there. It was tough to tell all the way to the finish line who was going to come out on top, and well done there on the very successful finish.
Yeah, looking on K-Sail, looks like the yellows were in second and third, so they won the race, and then in black they got first and fourth. It's not over till it's over.
No, exactly right. And we're going to be tuning in now for the start of a new race. We're just watching the pre-start currently.
So we've got blues versus greens. In blue we've got the Ride Rugrats, and in green we have Sevenoaks Blue. Hopefully Sevenoaks Blue can get a bit of a better start this time.
Yes, exactly. They're all lining up currently on starboard.
Greens just waiting, hoping that if they can squeeze the blue boats out at the start line, because there's no room at the start. So if that green boat can keep that blue boat from getting inside of them, they might have a really good start here. But I think the blues could sneak in there. It's going to be close.
Pretty aggressive sailing there by green 15 there, but it looks like
I think the blues have got away with it. They are windward boat. They must keep clear, and
looks like the blue has managed to come over the top, but is now looping back.
Yeah, I think they could have been just over, or maybe even taking a voluntary spin. So the greens, better start for them. They obviously learned from the previous start. So they're currently in a 1-2. Blues very close behind though. And that blue boat number 14, tacking away. If they can get clear air, then they could get themselves into a strong position. 16 doing very well to cover, so tacking with the opposition. And that means that, again, you're putting yourself between the opposition and the wind. That's what you want to do. Greens, at this point, 15 just wants to sail fast, get yourself into first. And then boat over on the right. I'd say you want to be a little bit closer to blue so that you could stop that happening. Blue does well to tack. Blue is on starboard, so green has to respond.
And looks like green on the left of the screen, boat number 15 will cross quite easily, and will cross both blue boats very easily there. The blue boat now tacking back onto port, very close to the mark, probably hoping to have a starboard port interaction with boat yellow 16, green 16, but doesn't look like that's going to happen,
Well,
although it is going to be tight. Oh, it is going to be tight.
I think that was 2 good tacks from boat number 14. Let's see if they can catch a piece of them. Doesn't look like it.
Not quite.
Not quite. If I was boat 16, I would have probably just stuck with my opposition and not even given them a chance of a starboard. But this is pretty close. The Blues don't have much ground to cover before they're in a strong position. On the downwind, you want to put yourself between the opposition and the wind. That means you're covering the boat downwind. If you can position yourself well, you can effectively cut off all the wind to the opposition that is closer to Mark 3. It's not the easiest job to do, but it's the only thing you really can do when you're in a 3-4. Getting yourself in a nice covering position and keeping everything smooth and relaxed puts you in a best position to attack from behind.
Yeah, exactly. And that downwind point of sail, it is an opportunity for the blue now to catch up and get back into this race.
Yeah, especially on a day like today. It's so light. Breeze comes from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. If there is a chance, it's usually on the run.
But it does look like the yellows have sailed a good downwind and are actually, heading straight there right now, rounding the bottom.
Yeah, it's quite a nice one too from I think it's Sevenoaks Blue currently. Fairly easy and relaxed sailing for them.
Yeah, they look relaxed. They look like they're just focusing on sailing fast now, sailing simple, and they may have a smooth race from here on out.
Absolutely. You're making sure that the commentator's curse does not occur.
Yep.
It's very easy to do in these kind of conditions, in this breeze or patchy breeze of the day. So patchy that I think we even see the race behind catching up with the race in front. This is often an umpire's nightmare because all the rules continue to apply. The reds and the greys, obviously they haven't been doing quite as many manoeuvres or anything. They're just a little bit faster, and you just have to sail around it's as if the other boats, you're not racing them, but they do have all the same rights and things like that. So if you're a port boat, even if you're on an opposition, you still have to give way to starboard boats.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the yellow boats there, just rounding for the final upwind to the finish. We're just going to bring a little video from a previous world champion, Greg Eaton. He was a world champion in 1995 in team racing. So he has some, albeit it was a while ago, I'm sure incredibly valuable lessons. So I'm going to put that on that interview now from Greg Eaton, and then we'll get back into another race. But although, having said that, maybe we should pause with that video.
I agree. The Blues have possibly got themselves into a good position. The Greens, they've only got one, they don't even have to tack at this point, but the Blues are just lower down on the breeze. in these conditions, quite often you want to sail loose. You don't want to be as tight to the breeze as possible. If they can get themselves a couple of good tacks, they might get themselves into second and then be in a position to attack these greens. I think the greens have just done enough. They are on starboard, but quite often in these conditions you start to pinch, you start to get nervous. The human element comes into play. I've seen boats this close to the finish line just stall. Like right now, is that boat finished in first?
It's close.
It's getting closer. The blue boat's keeping the main out quite loose. You want to get down further away from the breeze. I think one of those yellows has finished. And it would take a lot for that fourth boat in blue to get out of fourth. But that is, once again, it's closer than you think. Every so often it gets things a little bit heated. Looks like the blues are definitely in a 3-4, but still not, definitely a 3-4 for the blues. But as always, like you say, it just gets closer, especially at the finish line.
Yeah, well, I was about to put on Greg Eaton, which is a great video, and I will put that on shortly, but it was just getting tight there, and often the unexpected happens. I need to be careful as a commentator saying, oh, they're definitely going to lead, because sometimes things can change in an instant in this team racing, so I'm going to keep my predictions to myself from now on, although in this case they were correct.
Yes, yeah. Was there ever a doubt, Andy?
A little doubt. A little doubt in there. So we're back to the start line now, and this is the black and yellow boats.
So in black we've got Reading SC, and then in yellow we've got Seaford Blue. Black looks like they're winning 2 pairs, I'd say. Doing quite nicely. Yellows definitely in last. So blacks are definitely winning currently. The black's going very far left on this beat. Yellow tacks onto starboard. Seems like everyone's struggling a little bit to get momentum. If you've got the momentum, you want to keep it. You want to hold on to it. I often tell my crew, don't breathe, just because you don't want any movements.
That is not official advice from the commentary team. Breathing is important. So keep breathing and keep my advice is to keep a cool head, but I understand the sentiment there, Mark.
Yes, yeah, to be fair, luckily my crews generally ignore me in all cases, whatever I'm saying.
No, but don't breathe, keep still and keep everything moving is important. It is light, it has dropped a knot or two there, and yeah, as you can see, the progress is slow.
Yeah, it is slow, and so you just have to be smooth. Everything is smooth. Those tacks. The funny thing about sailing when these kind of conditions, everything takes longer, so you have more time to think about it, and you have more time to dwell on it. As those manoeuvres happen, you can feel quite a lot more pressure. In the big breeze, you're just reacting, you're just doing it on instinct. Whereas in these kind of conditions, you're really having to think about where you're positioning. Have I positioned this well enough? And if you haven't, in the light breeze, you're really punished for it.
Yeah, exactly. And currently we've got black in that 1-2 position, but the second pairing further back having a very tight race.
Yeah, so it is close. I'd say the blacks are doing a nice job of covering that boat in fourth. You can see the helm just watching them, just staring. You know, they're just staring at the opposition. Their entire focus is keeping fourth in fourth. They've got to be careful, just because you need to be aware of all the other things. The crew should be the good thing about having 2 sets of eyes. One set of eyes can be looking one way, the other can be looking kind of more outside the boat and saying, okay, now's a good time to tack. There's a gust coming over on the left-hand side, that kind of thing. But the blacks are doing a nice job at the back of keeping fourth in fourth. What the boat in first wants to be thinking is, we're in an unstable combination right now. We're in a 1-3. I want to start turning this into a 1-2.
Yeah. And then that yellow boat in second, the yellow team will be thinking, is it the right time now to really wait up and try and change this 2-4 position into potentially a 2-3.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'd be thinking. And each one of these marks that they're sailing past, because of the mark room rule, if you are inside of 2 boat lengths and you have entered without anyone overlapped over you or anything like that, you've got a lot of rights. You've got so much power, especially at Mark 3. At Mark 3, it doesn't even matter if the other boat is on starboard and you're on port. If you entered the downwind mark with a clip with totally clear, like this yellow boat has just done. I think they're just about inside the 2 boat length zone. Doesn't even matter if you're on port or starboard. You still have rights to sail your course to the mark and at the mark. So yellow doing a really nice job here. Mark 3, slow this race down and convert this black boat back to 4th, and it looks like that's happening in the back.
Crucial moment in this race. Whether you're successful will completely change the race.
Looks like yellows have just let a little bit harder.
Yeah, we can see that boat in first currently, really extending, but in team racing, the race is at the back there, and we do have yellow in 2nd and 4th, so that black boat still maintaining that 3rd position currently.
So black boat, when usually I'd be saying to my teammate, you got to convert me, I should be in 2nd by now. But if that's not happening, black in 3rd, right, I've got to make this, I've got to win this by myself. I'm going to put all my efforts in making sure that 4th stays in 4th. So make sure that you get inside the 2 boat length zone ahead of them, but then you're going to sail your beat, ensuring that 4th stays in 4th. So you're going to cover them at any opportunity. You're going to put yourself between them and the finish, because otherwise they have to sail through you. Black, you've got a job on. I reckon if you can get past this boat in 2nd, then well done. If you can just sail faster, great. That's always the first option.
And it looks like that's what they're planning to do, actually. They have seemed to extend it onto starboard. Whether they've extended enough to manage to do the attack, it looks like they probably have.
Absolutely, looks like a pretty decent 1-2 now for the Blacks. Obviously, the boat in first thought, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be fine. You can just sail yourself into 2nd."
That's confidence in your teammates.
Yeah, which is nice to see in a way. However, I would say a more reliable way of winning a team race is to convert a 1-3 into a 1-2. Black boat doing very well to just sail themselves clean. Yellows, you were slowing down at Mark 3 and it was great. You just needed to be that little bit more aggressive at Mark 3 and really stop that black boat from getting past. And then you would have been, I reckon you would have been in a winning combination by then.
Yeah, exactly. But we're really well done for the black team and really well sailed by Black Boat 2 there, effectively beating quite a difficult situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, as always, it's if you've got speed, you can decide what you do with it, and if you have no speed, it doesn't matter how good a tactician you are. If you don't have the flow, you don't have the flow of the sails, you can't execute anything.
Yeah, exactly. And looks like we're joining for another race here between the
dark blues and reds, I think.
Yep, looks like dark blues and reds.
So we've got Winchester in the blue, that's Winchester Fever in the blue, and then Radley College in the reds. Looks like a 1-4 to me as we come around the first mark.
But looks like boat number 8 may have stuck the bow in just enough to get rights on blue 6. We'll see.
Yeah, so as they come towards second mark, red might get room. I think they've just slowed down a little bit too much. It looks like blue has just extended slightly. So we've got certainly first, certainly fourth though. So blues, you're not in a winning position. You're going to have to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the job, the pressure is on for the boat in first to actually make that move. All the blue boat can do it in the last position. All they can do is sail fast and try and maintain some distance.
Yeah, absolutely. So they just want to get themselves in decent breeze, make sure they're not too close to an opposition, and just sail fast. All the work is going to come from the boat in first. They are coming into the 2 boat length zone now at first mark. So if any red boat goes between them and the mark, they have the opportunity to close the door, as we call it. They can then position themselves and sail towards the mark, and the red boat isn't allowed to be there. However, looks like there's too much of a gap between first and second. First needs to slow down. Potentially do a little 360 manoeuvre. Yeah, possibly. It's funny how in these kind of conditions, it's actually difficult to slow down. And then if you have slowed down, it's difficult to back up again. So having this momentum, a lot of that is just time on the water. Having a lot of practice in these kind of conditions. That's why we want to get racing in all types of conditions. Doesn't matter if it's light breeze or heavy breeze. You want to be practicing in both, because the competitions will happen in both.
Yeah, exactly. And often you'll see in many sailing classes, you'll have those sailors that prefer the light and are better than the light, and you'll have those that prefer the stronger breeze. So often everyone has a super strength, and we'll see who comes out on top today in these extremely light airs.
Yeah, so the red boat below, so they're just doing a little bit of aggression to try and hold fourth, but I think they did a little bit too much. Looks like third has just, every time you steer, every time you put that rudder over, you can see it on boat number 7. They're doing a perfect job of showing us how a water brake works. As you see that rudder comes across, the drag on their boat just increases massively. So anytime you're steering, you don't actually want to be using the rudder in these kind of conditions. You want to be using the shape of the hull and your sails to turn the boat for you. As soon as you touch that rudder, you slow down, and they've slowed down by half a leg.
Exactly, and you can even see in the second and third positions there, the 2 blue boats in the middle, they've even got all the way through. It's very close there. It does look like the red boat currently in third still has their bow in, so it does still have control, so potentially will manage to aid their teammate back into a stable combination again.
Yeah, so you saw boat 5 doing quite a big steer upwards towards windward. What they were trying to do is break the overlap. So breaking the overlap is all about getting the boat that is to leeward of you to be astern of you. So if you can make the boat that is leeward to astern of you, the rules then dictate that they don't have any luffing rights anymore, at which point they have to sail their proper course. But Orange did well enough, and they stayed overlapped for long enough that they could luff boat 5, and 5 again. They threw that tiller over. The rudder just slowed everything down, and you can just see how big a difference that makes on a day like today. Orange boats, if you sail smooth, you should be fine. Should.
Exactly. But they know they may have some difficulty. They do have a blue boat in front who now has looked back, seen their teammate is now at the back, and, well, they'll be formulating a plan at the front, won't they?
Well, I'm hoping they formulate it quickly, because they're running out of road at this point. The 2 oranges, when they're both together like that, pretty strong position. If they split up the beat, well, they could leave themselves opportunity to be attacked by blue. Blue is probably, well, I think they're coaching the boat behind. One of my favourite things I've heard across the years is just the boat in first helpfully telling the boat in fourth, sail faster. Always helps in these kind of situations. But the oranges, nice little combination 2-3. Stay relaxed and just make sure you sail clean. If you can sail smoother than the opposition, you will be crossing that finish line in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a pretty fundamental moment in the race. We're approaching the last leg of the course before the finish. So it's the upwind leg to the finish. You've got blues in 1-4, reds in 3-2. So we'll see how this comes out. You can see the blue boat in first, boat number 6, waiting up. Hopefully, they'll be hoping to get boat number 5, their 4th boat, back in the mix.
So the boat in first, blue boat number 6, is on starboard right now. They have an opportunity to come down, to bear away a little bit and race and cover both of these orange boats. Blue boat, if you need to get out and to the right, so good job in not tacking underneath 2 boats. If you tack underneath 2 boats, you'll have absolutely no breeze and you'll go nowhere. Blue boat, if you can just sail quite deep, so sail quite far away from the line, from the breeze. If you can do that, just get some pace going. You'll find yourselves in a better position to attack and now be on starboard. I think everyone's really struggling to actually find the breeze. I think everyone's switched into team race mode rather than race mode.
Yeah, exactly. It's certainly not fast on the water, but it is tactical and it is strategic. We'll see how it goes. There looks like there's a very tight situation there between the first and second boat. Looks like the blue boat is tacked back onto port, potentially to go back to their teammate and attempt to convert 1-4 into potentially a 2-3. Looks like they're going for a 2 versus 1 scenario.
Yeah. I like this from boat 6. As long as they can keep good pace, they're setting themselves up for a really nice position. As long as they hold 8, they stop 8 from tacking. 5, you want to be careful because you've just sailed underneath a boat. In these conditions, if you're underneath another boat, you've got no breeze at all. 8, very sensibly, tacks away to ensure they're not underneath boat 6. Boat 6 in kind responds. Boat 6, if I were you, I would close this gap down really hard. If that orange boat tacks, they win. 6 need to be right next to them. Very difficult for blue to do because they are also windward boat. They're doing a great job of keeping clear. Windward boat, they're slowing 8 down as much as possible. I'm not sure they've got it in the bag, though. They could. Look at this.
Oh, wow. It is tight, and I think they might have done it.
They might have done it.
Wow.
I think that is the blue boats.
Well,
excellently sailed.
Really well executed there.
Reds, so close. You're in a great 2-3, but it's all about the finish line. They still haven't finished. Well done to the blue boats. That is Winchester Fever. Great win over Radley College.
That was tactics on a knife edge there. The difference between the blue infringing upon the orange right there at the committee boat at the end was less than a metre. Inches.
Absolutely, yeah. Really close. So that's such tricky positioning. That was really well done from the blues. Well done.
Yeah, that was textbook. Very well executed. So we're going to bring you into another race shortly. But for now, the promised Greg Eaton video, the tips from the master himself.
Hi, I'm Greg Eaton. I've umpired this event for about 15 times now. Back in the day when it was quite a smaller event, but yeah, this year I'm just here on the umpire team helping the sailors achieve success. Yeah, I sailed a lot of team race events when in my younger days with quite some success. I won the first Team Racing Worlds, a number of Wilson trophies, a number of UCTRA events, loads of different events, university events, stuff like that. And then got a bit older and wasn't so quick around the boat, so hopped into the umpire boat and enjoy second best view in the house, I reckon. So firstly, you really need to know whether you're winning or losing. I know that sounds obvious, but if you're sailing a 3-a-side, then you need to know if you're in a winning combination or a losing combination. Obviously, something like 1-3-6 is a winning combination, 1-4-6 is a losing combination. So if you're in 1-3-6, then what you might want to do is develop is attack first. That's another key strategy. So If you attack before your opponents attack, you've got control of the move. So in that 1-3-6, what you might want to try and do is get the boat in third into second, because it's a lot harder for your opponents to break down a 1-2 than it is for them to break down a 1-3. One of the key things that made the big difference for us when we got our breakthrough win was actually time spent off the water and sitting through and talking through what we'd do in some of the really difficult scenarios. So for example, if you go around the leeward mark in a 1-4-5 or the opposite of that, a 2-3-6, those are probably the most challenging plays to make. And we spent a lot of time talking about that on the shore with boats on a desk. And that works really well because it then gets everyone playing to the same game plan. And once you're all going to the same game plan, that helps your team succeed.
And there's certain scenarios in team racing where you may give away a win if you're leading.
Yes.
You may give away a leading position
Yes.
in order to aid the team.
Yeah.
In what scenario would you...
The 1-3-6 earlier. So if you're in 1-3-6, if you're in first, attack really hard on the boat in second, get your teammate in third through first. As the leader, you were in first in that race. You've now dropped to second, but your teammates jumped up from third to first. So you've improved the team position, and it's made it harder for the opponents to break you down. Hi, I'm Greg Eaton. I've umpired this event for about 50.
Okay, we're back in. We have the blue currently making their way up the course, and this is back into the junior racing now. That looks like currently a 1-2 for the blue. That's blue 14. Currently on the reach, and blue 13 crossing behind there. Looks like a 1-2 possession for them. We're going to loop back into the start of the next race very shortly. Okay, back to the start line. We have the yellows versus the blacks. They're in their pre-start currently, so they're going to be manoeuvring and they're going to be trying to line up to execute that start. They're currently on port and starboard, but they'll be all flicking round onto starboard tack to cross that line between the orange flag and the committee boat there. It's very interesting to see how the pairings develop in this race. You can see there are pairings and they'll be each trying to win their pairings in order to convert into the best position when they get onto the course. We have the black boat there going to leeward of the yellow boat 4, potentially making an attempt to sail them across the line. Now that's possible. You can push them across the start line early, or make them, put them into a vulnerable position and potentially push them into doing a 360 spin prior to the start. But looks like boat number 4 has avoided. Potentially that yellow boat there was over the line, and you may see them have to jibe round and go back to the start line, but we'll see shortly. Looks like they were fine. We have yellow in 1-4 and we have black in 2-3. Currently black in a leading position, the black team, but as we've seen in previous races, things can change pretty quickly. 2 pairings, currently seeing the yellow 1 and the black in second, approaching the left hand side of the course on the upwind. Black tacking off now into port, yellow tacking onto port to cover the black sailor. both on port tack, so vulnerable to starboard tackers. You'll see the yellow boat come in, approach in black 2. Black 2 needs to avoid as the port tack boat, or cross. We'll see if it's a cross. It's going to be a tight situation. You've got the jury boat there, umpire boat there, watching closely, and I think they're okay. There was no protest in that situation. Coming in now at the mark. So currently yellow 4, black 2 free, black in a leading position, but incredibly tight racing, and with the yellow boat in 4th, really close behind. And coming in with a bit more space. You can see the yellow boat in 1st, looking back constantly, looking back and trying to see how their teammates going on and how things are going. On the top reach now, they're approaching the downwind, a critical moment in the race. Really lots of opportunities on the downwind for gain and for loss.
So yellow boat just jibing there, jibing towards the start to the Mark III, but black with some decent pace. If they can get on the inside overlapped, then they'll have mark room. Not sure they did quite enough, but you can see the umpires over on the left-hand side, perfectly positioned. They can make that call.
Yes, so yellow in the 1-4 position, black in a tight 2-3 position. And we'll see, it looks like the umpires are watching closely.
Yeah, it's a tight race, this one. Yellows, you've got to start doing some big manoeuvres here, just slowing yourself down. Let one go, doesn't matter. First doesn't matter in two-boat team racing. It's all about who's in 4th.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll be approaching. This is the reach into the final upwind.
So yellows, you're nicely set up to cover 1. I got to say, but you could possibly, if you start attacking the boat in 3rd, you might have less work to do to try and get your teammate into 2nd. Yellow also has to be careful. They must keep clear of the leeward boat. Black boat is leeward. They don't have luffing rights because they came from astern, but they still have the right to kind of luff to their proper course. Is close hauled, so black boat you can still flapping there. If you start flapping your jib, it makes turbulent air. And that really slows the boat below you. I'd say 2 needs to be a little bit further forwards to make that super effective, but they're doing a great job of just sticking with that yellow boat, because you can see the yellow boat has got good pace, and they've got themselves into possibly 3rd. I think they're on port, so they have to duck underneath the black boat. If I were the black boat, I would tack right now onto that yellow to make sure that you're absolutely sticking yourself between the opposition and the finish line. Looks like the blacks still in 2nd, and I think they've possibly even made themselves into 1st. Make sure that they're not in last though. Black boat, bear away. You've got so much room to speed up and just go down the line. Looks like they're fine, but stop looking over your shoulder and
it's going to be tight.
Just get your pace going.
And unfortunately that other yellow boat, they couldn't really do anything from that position. They can't tack onto port because they're not right-of-way boat, and they don't have time to do anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the fact that they had a lot of time. Quite often you see these desperate things happening all at the finish line. If you get it done further up, on the last beat, or preferably they had opportunities on the bottom reach, they could have made a bit of a bigger impact. Team racing is all about preempting and who's the first to react and who's the first to get the job done and get myself into a stable combination.
Yeah, exactly. And quite often we are seeing those lead changes happen in the last upwind of that race, the last leg of the race. It was incredible tactical racing, though, to watch them execute those changes in positions. And really, in team racing, it's in the name, I know, but you need to work as a team in order. The main lead change there was when the boat came in on starboard, effectively making it necessary for the others to go underneath the stern of their boat, putting them behind and changing them into that 2-free position.
Yeah, that was a really nice final beat from the black team. Again, thinking about today, if we can just keep ourselves nice and fast and carry our momentum, quite often you'll just sail past, and there's no need to do the team racing part. If you're doing the racing part right, then the team racing is secondary always to the actual racing.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of in the tips and tricks video. There was a lot of advice from the guys. Quite a lot of it was sail fast, because if you're sailing fast, it does make the decision making easier quite often, especially when you are in those leading positions. That 1-2, if you can sail fast from there, you're in the money.
Yeah, quite often if you're not entirely sure what to do, sail fast.
It's not a bad.
Yeah, it's always an option.
Bad tactic. Yeah.
So currently we have the Greys, who is Team Fever, against the Reds, which is the Rutland Ospreys.
We have the grey boat moving down towards the pin end, potentially attempting a port start, but we'll see shortly. They still have time pre-start, so they may just be manoeuvring, trying to run away from that Rutland boat.
However, the Rutland boat has chased them down nicely. They are a starboard boat, and they've got a red flag up. They need to make sure that the umpire has seen it, but I think the grey boat have gone, yeah, fair cop. I was on port. I didn't really do enough to get myself out of that position, so they're taking a spin. The only thing is that rudder is so hard over that they're not gonna get themselves a spin very quickly. Big part of team racing is effectively taking a spin. If you can take a quick spin, do a 360, you are back in the race before the opposition really knows it, and you can become a threat. If your spins are slow, though, you really just put yourself in last. Gray here did a pretty good job there. Take the spin, only one, and you're back in the race. And let's see if they can get a decent start.
And it looks like their teammate, the Greys teammate, did do a pretty good job of managing in a 2-versus-1 situation on the far side of the screen. It looks like they're both approaching the line in a fairly strong position and have done quite well after some fairly aggressive pre-start tactics by the red team. Yep. So that's the start there, and the Grey team have successfully exited the line in a 1-2, very strong position. So that was really great, combating aggressive tactics, executing the 360, and still maintaining composure to time the start well and get across the line in a good position. Boat 10 might well be sailing the boat very high in order to let that boat 9 extend and sail VMG, which is velocity made good, the correct angle on the upwind, and effectively then cross. As you can see, the grey boat has now crossed the line and looks like they're in a good spot, although they do need to contend with a potential red cross from that far side of the screen. We'll see. It doesn't look like red is going to get their bow in time, but it is going to be tight. We'll see. It looks like the second grey boat is at risk.
Yeah, this could be close. Let's see if the Reds have got enough pace. Not quite. Reds just tacking underneath, but now they become leeward boat. They have their nose overlapped with the grey boat, so they have luffing rights. They can actually steer that grey boat all the way up to windward, and they are doing a pretty good job of it. If I was red, I would go hard and aggressive right now. I would just push that boat right up to windward, and that would stop them dead. That allows my teammate to go into third. Greys in boat number 9 in first. They're looking to do the same. They are leeward boat. Not sure if they've now come from astern just because of those angles. Red boats, I think they're just doing a good job of sailing a little bit smoother and faster at this stage. Boat number 10 just get themselves, seems to be a little bit slow compared to the red boats.
Yeah, slow but incredibly tight racing, but the red boats do seem to be making progress on that lead grey boat.
Yeah, sometimes when, especially if you start looking over your shoulder, you suddenly realise that you are steering without even noticing, and there's a lot of quite often these boats are being heeled quite a bit. A flat boat is a fast boat. If you're trying to turn, then absolutely use the hull of the boat to steer yourself. This red boat in fourth, I think, currently, but still got some great pace on them, and they are leeward boat. Grey boat must keep clear.
They might even be able to catch both of the grey boats from that position. Not quite, they're focused on one, but they have changed into a stronger position there, although they do need to be careful. That red boat does need to be careful of Grey's teammate.
Yeah, Grey, I think it's boat number 10. They have luffing rights on the red boat. They are leeward boat, so they are the right-of-way boat. Don't jibe. Don't jibe. Keep going. So that is giving the Reds an opportunity to stay in third. The grey boat, if you'd have just attacked a little bit more aggressively towards the red boats, you'd have got them. Now we're in a 1-3 for the Reds. The boat number 11 has showed themselves to have some pretty good pace. 12 setting yourself up to stop boat number 10. 10 is a leeward boat, and look at that aggression. That's more like it. I like to see this because 10 has luffing rights. They are leeward boat. 11 must keep clear, and 10 can just sail them off into the distance. As long as 11 doesn't get beyond them and in front of them. So red boat comes around in first, but it's all about who's in fourth. Looks like Greys have got themselves into a second and 10 into third. That's really nice sailing from 10. They clearly slowed that red boat down, pushed them up, and now they're in a 2-3. Great work from the Greys.
Exactly, really well executed there. And now you see the red boat in second, in first, waiting up, and they'll try and push one of those boats back to allow their teammate in last position to get back in the mix, but we'll see.
So we're just to remind everyone, we're currently watching Team Fever in the Greys and Rutland Ospreys in the Reds. Team Fever looking for their third win of the competition, and it's looking pretty good so far. Red boat doing trying to do a bit from first, but it's a struggle, especially when you're windward boat. You have to keep clear. You can do some to slow that other boat down, but it looks like the Greys, all you have to do is just get over the finish line first. Looks like Reds tacking onto port,
and they have crossed the line. The Greys were successful in crossing the line. That red boat to the right of your screen, all they could have done in that situation.
That was close over on the left. I think the Greys possibly. Let's have a look. If you go to ksail.com, you will find all of your racing needs. That was a picture finish almost. That was difficult to tell. I think you might be right. That was tight. It hasn't quite come through to KSail yet. I think the finish boat just making sure they got that right and checking all their numbers. And we're in for the start of the next race, black versus yellow. We'll update you on the finishing order of that previous race as soon as it comes through. Yeah, absolutely. Currently, we have a tight start from this race. Looks like yellow is in a slightly advantaged position, having extended slightly into a crossable position, boat number
free of yellow, and then also having tacking rights, being the inside boat approaching the mark a bit further up, boat number 4. So black are in a tough place here, actually. Boat 3 just tacking off now and rounding the first mark, and boat 4 yellow will also be able to tack and round the mark, and boat 2 black actually needs to avoid yellow there.
Just from that previous race, the Rutland Ospreys came away with a win in a 1-3. So that was the red boats just charging in right at the end. Black seemingly, essentially grabbing defeat from the jaws of victory. It seemed like the Team Fever just lost concentration on their pace just for that last couple of boat lengths. And it cost them the race. It's all about who finishes first over the finish line, not what happens further around the course.
First by an inch is the same points as first by a mile. So it was a tight race, but a well-deserved victory there by them. And black, currently, black boat 2, holding for in a bit of a situation at the moment.
Yeah, yellows need to be careful not to just sail off into the distance. Black have got yellow. That boat number 2 has great positioning, almost total control over the boat in third. They're leeward boat, so they're right of way. They have luffing rights, and they can do this all day. They can just keep on sailing that boat just further and further up. Boat in yellow, boat number 4, they need to get out of there as quickly as possible. I often say if you're getting had, if you're not having a good time, get it over with quickly. They could have maybe tacked away and just taken a spin, just any way to get away from that opposition, because otherwise you've got a big gap like this. 4, if you can pace yourself back into this, if you can get on the left of the boat in third and overlapped at Mark 3, then you could get yourself into third. It is very close right now. That gap is minimal.
Yeah, incredibly tight, and it really come down to the pace. Can black boat 2 extend enough to have the ability to jibe round that bottom mark, or will the yellow boat 4 extend and have the ability to sail black wherever they like?
Yeah, so you can see the umpires on the left, just on the left. They position themselves 90 degrees to the back of boat number 2 in black. That means that they are in the perfect position to see if they get room. So once the black boat, as soon as they enter the 2 boat length zone, if they're clear ahead, there's no overlap, they're in third, no worries. But if there is an overlap, which I don't think yellow's managed, if they had, they could have gone between black and the mark, but it looks like we've now got a 2-3. Yellow boat on starboard coming back at the blue boats. So the black boat is on port, yellow is on starboard, so they have an opportunity. Yellow has right of way. Might look like they're sailing the exact wrong direction for the course, but they are still allowed to attack the boats. If they'd have been a little bit more aggressive there, I think they could have got a red flag on them. But I can't see a red flag coming from any competitor.
No, I could see what they were trying to do there, but it wasn't quite aggressively enough executed, was it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you need to give time and opportunity for any boat to avoid you. But I think they could have really pushed that black boat. They could have really sailed right towards them, and black boat wasn't doing enough. But unfortunately, it was right idea, just not quite executed well enough.
And now it's a race to get back to them and get back in a position where they can where that yellow boat can affect the race. And it's going to be difficult. It looks like black boat will have control.
They are sailing quite far from, obviously going towards that starboard ley line. Yellows, it's at this point you think, well, maybe I'll just go left and see what happens. If they can get close to the black boats, they might still be in with a chance of something. It's a light breeze day.
Yeah, it is light, and it looks like black have put themselves in the position to win there. Yeah. I don't want to jinx them, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, coming in on the starboard ley line, up the finish. Can't ask for much more.
And the rules and these umpiring, it's an incredibly important component of team racing. Without the close umpiring and without some very strict rules to follow within this racing, everything will fall apart. Team racing is really about using the rules and your collaboration with your teammates in order to win the race. We're just going to bring you a video from the umpire to speak a little bit about this.
Hi everyone, so my name's Will. I'm one of the umpires here at the Twiname Team Racing Championships here in Oxford this weekend. So I think we've got a wicked format here in team racing, so it slightly differs from fleet racing by background, where it's usually one boat or a crew that are competing against a number of other boats. But here with team racing it's slightly different, so this weekend we've got two slightly different formats. So 3v3 and 2v2. Where you will essentially compete against 2 or 3 other boats to come with a winning combination that scores the correct amount of points that gives you the win for the race. The turnaround's a little bit faster, so you should get through a lot more races than probably a traditional fleet racing weekend, and a lot of your racing incidents from a rules perspective should hopefully be answered whilst you're racing. We've got a great umpire team this weekend who should hopefully be able to answer your protests on the water, so that when you finish a race you should hopefully know who's won, and that should be the end. So I initially got into sailing and mostly competed in team racing. So I team raced at school and then went off to university and continued team racing. I think it's a really great format, and you can have some really good weekends and meet probably a great amount of people, more than you'd probably typically over a fleet racing weekend, I think. So I think probably some of the top tips for coming to a team racing event is a lot of similarities to the other disciplines, so it's really interchangeable from that perspective, and I wouldn't be put off coming to a team racing event. Sailing fast is still as important as ever, and I think more than possibly normal is having a good underpinning rules knowledge to be able to change the combinations that you're finding your team in if you're not winning into a winning combination. Hi everyone, so my name's Will.
So we are going to move ourselves over to the youths. So this is in the Fireflies, the 3-boat team racing. We've done some nice coverage from the juniors. They've given us some great racing. So it's up to the youths to entertain us now. So just to back up the sayings from the umpires, obviously team racing could not happen without umpires. They're such an integral part to the competition. If you want to have a little brief history of team racing, you could possibly talk to some of the current umpires at the Twiname. They might be able to tell you about the bad old days of when there was no umpires, and there would just be hearings well into the night to determine actually who had won, and it kind of wasn't all that fun. Once the umpires were introduced, it was moment by moment refereeing, and team racing has benefited from it massively. So thank you to all the umpires, both on the water today and just throughout. Couldn't happen without you. And the umpires do they do have the best spots in the house to watch this team racing. They get great view, and it's great fun. If you're interested in doing some team racing, have a look at the RYA website. If you're interested in doing some umpiring as well, go onto the RYA website. There's lots of opportunities for as many umpires to get involved as possible. It's a great way to both learn how to team race better. I always think the competitors who have umpired have a little bit more knowledge as to what the umpire is actually looking for, can really give you that edge, and you suddenly realise, okay, I know what the umpire is expecting, I know what they're looking for, and I know how to not play the umpires, but at least encourage them to meet me halfway. So we've got yellows versus blacks here in a 3-boat team race. This is the youth course. So in black we have SHSK White, and in yellow we have the Budworth Bandits. Budworth Bandits having the best of it. They're in a 1-2-3, pretty happily off the they're having the best of it going off the start line. Black boats just struggling there. It's light breeze, not having a great time. The yellows, you can just see the flow is just so much nicer over the sails. Quite often in these kind of conditions, you want to possibly just heel the boat slightly to leeward, just to get kind of a bit of weight in the sails. But black coming along on starboard. Looks like starboard is the winning tack currently. The boat in yellow probably going to have to duck or tack. You can see the crew having to do a lot of work there. So crews are massively integral to the way that Fireflies are raced and sailed. They essentially make the tack. They start the manoeuvre. Their body weight shifting turns the boat and drives the boat through the wind. So you can see a lot of body movement from the crews. A good crew is gold dust. You can do pretty well at team racing with scratch crews, with crews that you've not sailed with before, things like that. But at the real top competitions, the people that determine who wins and who loses is the crews. If you've got excellent crews, you are in such a good position because you can just sail faster than the boats that you're competing against.
Exactly, it's a real combined effort winning in a crew and helm team racing multi-boat scenario. It's really a team effort, and if there's a weak link, it's hard to come through. And when in these races, and especially consistently over race after race, the leader of this event and the winner, the overall winner of this event, will be the one with not necessarily the strongest boat, but the strongest team together.
Absolutely, it's six people working together. When you're at the top end, those six people will have been sailing together for years, sometimes from school days even, and they'll know each other very well. They'll know exactly what each other sail like, all of their tactics, things like that. And looks like yellows, gotta say, that's a pretty strong 1-2-3 for them. So we might just leave that race and head on to something further back down the race course.
We're going back to the start line to watch the next race. That looked like a pretty solid 1-2-3, as Mark said.
So it looks like I think we've got greys versus reds. So that'll just be the jib colour. Red is the Rutland Rascals, so the Rutland Rascals in red, and Mesa purple in grey. I like the positioning from the grey jibs, further towards the right. But they are quite high at the moment. Pinks coming in, so those purple jibs.
We have just had a request from the shore to cover some Super Junior racing, which is why we're changing course currently. So we're going to cover the Super Juniors, which they're the youngest of the guys, and this is a bit more of a coach and sailing team, sailor collaborative endeavour. So you might see some during the racing, but that's all in the essence of learning, and we'll see from the Super Junior course now.
Yeah, so the Super Junior is such a great opportunity laid on by the RYA, and you don't need to have any experience to come along and join yourselves onto the Super Junior. You get coached, and you get to do some two-boat team racing, which is slightly more accessible maybe compared to the three-boat team racing, a little bit simpler to understand. And it all feeds into having fun on the water, getting yourself picking up those skills that team racing and just racing in general relies on. What we've currently got is the green jibs versus the pink jibs. We've got MCS in the pink jibs and then Wolverhampton blue. Apologies, it might look like green, but I'm reliably informed they're turquoise.
Turquoise. Well, brilliant. So we might see a different sort of racing here than we've been seeing. It's definitely different to the youth, where it's free boat racing. Two boat racing is a lot simpler to follow in a way, and you see the two boats, the two teams, they're just probably chatting to each other, developing a strategy. They're right next to each other, and they'll just be working towards working out strategy before they start this race.
Yeah, so I can see the 3 minutes is up, so they've got 2 and a bit minutes to position themselves. What you want is on the start line, you want to be coming in with momentum. Quite often you see, say, if you've gone to an Oppie Nationals or something like that, you'll see a lot of people come to maybe a few boat lengths away from the line, push out their main, stop the boat, and just set up shop there. They'll just stop and say, right, this is my lane, this is where I'm going to be, and then they'll wait for the start. Team racing, bit different. You want to come in with momentum. If you're coming in with momentum, that first 30 seconds of the start line is so important. That's when everyone's bunched up together. If you can make gains in that first 30 seconds, if you've got pace over your opposition in the first 30 seconds, that's going to lead to getting possibly a first or a second up by Mark 1. So in the team racing, you want to be coming in full speed with 15 seconds to go so that your boat can build up momentum. So the trick is to position yourself far enough away so that you're not early, but close enough so that you're not late.
Yeah, exactly. And that timing element, often that takes a while to fine tune. And these guys are relatively early in their sailing journeys, but we'll see how fine tuned they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So great exercises would be things like if you time yourselves of how far away do you really need to be in order to come in at full speed.
And we have the start clock on the screen there, 45 seconds to the gun.
So I'd say greens might be a little bit early here. It's 45 seconds, which quickly diminishes, as we can see. In these conditions, you want to be closer to the line. You want to be leading the pack into the line. But you've still got 25 seconds to kill for that green boat. Reds on the left of the screen, they do not have room at the start. So if greens can squeeze high enough up, they can push this pink boat onto the wrong side of the start mark. I think pinks have done enough to get themselves in there. Green couldn't quite push themselves up. We've got 2 seconds to go.
And that's the gun. So looks like turquoise is in a strong position there. Turquoise, both of the boats off the line, on time, as we mentioned earlier, that timing element, quite important. Less important than getting across the line in the 1-2 position, but if you can do the 1-2 position and on time, that's the best, and that's what they've managed to achieve. The red boat struggling a bit behind, and then their teammates struggling even more further behind. It looks like Turquoise are off to a flying start there.
Yeah, Turquoise have done a really nice job. You can also see just how much lower on the breeze, so how much bigger an angle the Turquoise boats are sailing. In these kind of conditions, if you're too close to the breeze, you'll just stop. This Turquoise over on the left getting some great breeze. Obviously, sailing off left, you can see the way that you can tell of whether there's more breeze or less breeze when you're looking at the water is the dark patches. So if you look across the water and there's a dark patch, that's where the breeze is. If you are looking across the water and it's quite light patch, there's no breeze there. You don't want to sail near that place. Turquoise clearly saw this breeze over on the left-hand side and absolutely made it work for them. They're going into a strong one, and there's some really good covering from Turquoise as well on this pink boat. So pretty happy with a 1-2 for the Turquoise. Pretty close to the third boat, but fourth boat was quite a long way behind. So very strong position for Turquoise.
And I think they've noticed the drone there in the sky. They looked up to us. Really good sailing. Yep.
Give us a wave.
They're giving us a wave. Yeah. They're having a great time on the water. And actually, because they're relatively small compared to a normal-sized human, they're actually going pretty quick.
Yes, I think I would struggle somewhat in a Fever today.
Really leaning over that side, pushing that jib out, trying to keep it in position because it is gusty. That gust that they had as they went on the upwind and across the reach looks like they're going to try and jibe back into it.
So that's some nice sailing. Once again, it's if you can sail fast, you will do pretty well at team racing. Green boat just trying to get their batten popped. One of everyone's least favourite things about Fevers is when you're jibing and that batten just not quite popping. Let's see if they can manage it on this jibe. As we come up, batten pops, and we've got a nice jibe there from Turquoise, using the hull to steer their boat. All these things so good for a racer to be thinking about.
And looks like a solid position for Turquoise going in for a 1-2. We're just going to go across to the start line again. And the clock is on. We are in the last 10 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oranges across the line really well. Blues close behind, but in a slightly worse position. They're being covered by both oranges, and yeah, flying start by the oranges there.
Orange is RHS green, so that's Royal Hospital School, and then in the dark blue we've got the Adventurers with quite the adventurous name. Hopefully they can get themselves back into a more better position from 3-4. 3-4 is a tough one in this competition to get yourself back out of that losing combination. But Blues, the Adventurers, could have a bit of this pink boat. That was a large steer from the blue boats. Obviously, thought I'm at odds of possibly getting held up here. Only thing is that massive rudder steer just slowed them down so much. They've now positioned themselves to leeward of the pinks, and they're just getting covered. They've put themselves to the wrong side of the of the boat ahead, I'd say. If you're racing, you want to be between the opposition and the wind, and they allowed their opposition to get between them and the wind. RHS, very nice tack there from that boat.
Yeah.
Goes to show that's why they're in first, I'd say.
Yeah, really spot on, and executing that 1-2 position off the line. That's what you want from a start, isn't it? If you can have anything from a start, that's it. So it's unsurprising they're in a very good position. But having said that, blue does seem to be coming back into play a bit further back, and we'll see whether, even after that flying start and that huge lead, whether that leader does decide to come back and maybe support their teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. So RHS can't switch off for a moment. That boat in first suddenly realised, I could possibly be losing this race. This pink boat coming across on starboard, they have rights over the blue, so they have rights over the blue adventurers. Let's see if the blues, I think they've possibly got out of the way. I think they've done enough to keep clear. So I think pinks find themselves in fourth. That's first and fourth. That is a losing combination. Blue, if you just hold that boat for as long as possible, then you've got yourselves a really nice big gap. And I wonder what the position in first is thinking. Suddenly thinking, oh, we were winning about 30 seconds ago. Suddenly, the race has changed.
Exactly, and that's the thing. In sailing, you've really got to stay adaptable to changes in condition, changes in position of your teammates, changes in the environment. It could be changes in everything. Adaptability is one of the key metrics that creates, a really solid, consistent sailor.
So blues have got themselves into a 2-3. What we'd like to see is to blues to now make it really difficult for the pinks to convert this. It's always difficult to convert two boats at once. Pinks could potentially just give up the one. Totally fine. Blues should be wise to that. They need to possibly think, can I hit back on orange anymore? Do I need to hit back on orange? In these kind of conditions, it always pays to just build that gap, make it as difficult as possible for orange to get themselves out of fourth. Blue boat come round, and at this point, you just want to be smooth. Everything, you just need to relax. Problem is, your heart rate is going because, well, you're winning and you really want to win.
Yeah, some really tight racing still, though. Orange is chasing them down, and we'll see whether they can come back. You can see that orange boat in first waiting up in order to attack that blue 2-3 combination. So we'll see. They are in that close to mark pausing situation where they maintain the rights of having room at the mark, but can do what they want with it, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, if the blues sail to the right of them, the blues will be windward boat, and they'll have to keep clear. So pink aiming quite aggressively towards. If the blues shoot left, like they currently are, they can't sail between the orange and the mark. So if the blue try and go in that gap, they'll suddenly find themselves on the wrong end. I think orange have let them get in there, though. Blues have snuck in. I think if there's contact, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing a protest here. Those boats are certainly in contact with each other. I can see a red flag being flown from the orange boat. Orange also coming in possibly second. So it's now thinking, who's in fourth? There's a red flag from an umpire. Yes, I'm pretty sure blue did not have room at the mark. So orange, once the blue boat gets out the way, orange will be in a 1-2. Still close from the blues. Blues are just on the edge. They're overlapped with orange, so they could get room at the next mark. Orange starting to respond. Blue don't spin in front of your own teammate.
That's a difficult place to spin.
That's tough. I think they missed each other just. Blue are now on the inside and are they're certainly inside, so they're not possibly in first even, but they're definitely in fourth. Blues, I think, have room here. So they entered the 2 boat length zone on the inside, so they have room at this mark. Oranges in a 2-3, you're still winning. Blue have another spin to do. So the Blues have, that's 1 360 that they've done, but when it's an umpire flag, you've got to do a 720.
Yes, exactly. And if a teammate's rule break, still even after a 360, can be seen to benefit the team overall, then the umpires may give out additional 360s as well. So it is important that a rule break never benefits the overall system. You know, you need to stay within the rules, and if there's contact at any point in sailing, someone or both of them have broken the rules. You're not allowed any contact in this sport.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons.
Yes, it's a non-contact sport for both safety and financial reasons. Looks like that blue boat have done well to get back into this race. However, there's a lot of big steering happening. Orange are on starboard there. Blue have to do. They're going to have to turn pretty sharpest to avoid. Looks like they're doing fine. If I was pink, I would use this opportunity to cover the boat in blue. I think blue is actually completing their final spin. So pinks, they're in a great position here. Blue boat don't sail the wrong side of the mark because they've just unwound themselves. That's a nightmare for the Blues. Picking the right place to spin, very difficult. Pinks getting some nice breeze over on just in front of us.
Yeah, really building up some pace there on just in front of you on that screen, going into the left-hand side of the upwind. So they'll be tacking, likely crossing that blue boat. We'll see shortly. But in either case, a 1-3 is a decent position considering how far back that fourth blue boat is.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pinks, all you have to do is just sail clean. Just don't get involved with that blue boat. Just push them on. Now that you guys, all you have to do now is keep sailing. You don't even have to protest at this point. Why bother getting the umpires involved when you know that you're winning? Who knows what the umpire saw? I would just keep sailing. Looks like Blues have just taken the spin of themselves anyway, which is very, very kind of them. But I would, if I were on the final beat on the ley line, why bother getting the umpires involved? I would just not even flag it. But it looks like Orange done a pretty nice job there. 1-2, Blues. I think they got undone by that mark room.
Yeah, exactly. Well, solid race there from the juniors, but we are back in at the youth course to watch the greens and the orange race. So they've just started, looks like a tight race. We currently, I believe, have green slightly leading, but it's incredibly hard to tell at this stage.
Yeah, this is close. This is one of those times that I say, okay, who is winning? Who's winning more pairs? I'd say the greens, like you say. So greens are
they're currently winning Derbyshire.
And then orange is St Edward's Oxford. I think greens are winning. They're definitely winning 2 pairs. Might even be a 1-2. Let's see how 27 does to try and get across on port.
Looks like it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I think 28 just got a lift there. I think they're just coming in. 26 coming in to slow them down, but they are windward boat. 28 did enough. I think that is needing to avoid. So I think 27 was on port there and is... Are they going to take a spin? Didn't see a flag.
I didn't see a protest there, did you?
No. So if there is no protest...
Oh, but they are doing a spin.
So if there is no protest, the umpires aren't obliged to do anything, and neither is the opposition. In fact, the opposition can still take a turn if there's no if they know they have infringed, and it is the gentlemanly thing to do. 145 is economy. So right now, you all have different roles to play. First, keep first. Absolutely do not lose first. It's such a strong position. Fourth, your job is to push the race on and sail clean. Fifth, your job is to keep sixth and sixth. That big gap between boat 26 and 27, you want to make that gap as big as possible. In a 145, you want the gap between 4 and 5 to be absolutely massive. That allows boat 4 to just keep on pushing the race on. Even if they infringe, fine, I'll do a 360 because I know that 5th is miles behind me. My teammate is absolutely miles behind me. So, 145, the gap between 4th and 5th, you want to be massive. First has possibly gotten slightly different to how I would approach. Let's see how it works. But I think they might have given up 1 there, and it looks if the oranges can get their pace on, that's a 1-2 for the oranges. So 25. That was unfortunate. I feel like you just had to keep the 1. Let's see if you can get yourself back into it, and if you can get on the inside of 28, then you will have room. But if you're in a 145 and you give up the 1, you might owe some apologies later on the shore to your teammates.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like they've managed to get room there either. It looks like orange, as long as they don't interfere with each other, which they are rounding at the same time, so that is tough, are in the 1-2 position. And looks like, yeah, they are successfully in the 1-2 position round there. So
25 goes on the inside. That's fine. If you've got the room, if you can fit between the opposition and the mark, that's fine. So 1-3 now for the oranges. So green have done a little bit to alleviate themselves from their previous mistakes. But let's see if we can convert this 1-3 into a 1-2. That's what orange are wanting to do. So they're slowing down and getting leeward of boat 25. They are currently leeward and they have luffing rights. As long as they don't enter the zone, then they have all the rights. They can hold up this boat 20 towards Mark 4. Once again, this trend of standing up, you are slow if you are stood. You absolutely are. Green boat, have you got yourself into first? If they've got themselves over the front, then fair enough. We're now back into a 1-4-5, maybe even a 1-3 for the greens. So orange just not quite the pace to keep that aggression going.
And potentially, if that green boat 26, carries on the way they're carrying on, they might have converted that into a 1-2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've got room at this mark down here at Mark 4. So 25, good pace. You managed to get yourself into first, and 26 again in a 1-2 at this stage in the race. Very difficult to come back from. Orange did well. They did great. They had a 1-2 on the run. And the greens just were on the right side of the breeze.
Yeah, and looks like as long as boat 26 doesn't stall out, which is as late as possible. No, they look like they've tacked well and they've got the boat moving. It looks like they're going to be in a good position to finish off this race. 1-2 cannot be beaten under any circumstances, and if allowed to maintain those positions. Yeah. So the only way that green won't win this race is if they lose this 1-2.
Yeah, and it looks like we've had a pretty significant wind shift as well. But I think the greens were the first to react to it. I think the orange they had the right idea of try and attack from leeward, but I think the wind shifted, and that meant that the greens were closer to the wind. They got that wind first, and then they just sailed over the top of them along the bottom reach, and now just put themselves in a 1-2. Job done for the greens.
Yeah, certainly. Solid, really solid race by the greens there, and looks like a pretty significant wind shift on the course there. But in this light wind, it is quite shifty. The wind does move around. The condition, the wind is not set in a solid direction. We're going to go back to the start line for the next race. It looks like we have blacks, or is that a... We'll get closer to the sails and confirm what colour that is, but it definitely looks like a red.
So it looks like red Rutland Rascals and grey Ride on Time coming into their pre-start now. We've got plenty of time. We'll see. We will recycle round. Grey's quite close to the start line. I think they're a little bit early, so they'll probably have to recycle as well. And you just get this kind of washing machine effect at the starboard end of the line. No one wants to be over. Pink just ducking below grey. Possibly if the pinks are going for the port end of the line, they've got a lot of time. They've got space to kill this time.
Looks like grey were temporarily pushed over the line there, but you are allowed to just duck back underneath the line with this flag flying.
That was a nice trigger pull from boat number 21, pretty energetic. And looks like 2 pairs are winning for the pinks.
And potentially even a third pair. That's a very strong start. You need to be careful there with those crosses, but looks like they haven't interfered with the teammates there. And it looks like 2 or 3, probably 3 pairs.
Yeah, quite possibly. If I were boat 19, I'd be thinking, can pass 24, but 24 is letting them go. So now, if I was 19, I'd think, right, okay, my only job is just to sail as fast as possible, possibly hold this boat number 22 out. So 19 is on starboard. If 22 tacks, they'll be on port, so they'll be the giveaway boat. So 22 tacks and has to go behind 19. 19 does a really nice job of tacking right in front of boat 22. That's really quite nice. 22, you can see the speed difference. 22 just headed up a bit and they just stopped. Look at that differential that now just opened up between 19 and 22. Yeah. 19, they then get the opportunity to tack. And if you are in a team that you've been sailing together in light breeze for a long time, your tacks, pretty much every time you tack, is an opportunity to just get a little bit more flow over the sails, and you can really gain from your tacks if you're executing them well.
And that black sailboat there is a boat from another race, so it's important to note that pink sail numbered boat.
Yeah, pinks, very nice. You're in a 1-2-3, solid 1-2-3. If I was 19, I would be licking my lips, rubbing my hands, and just saying, right, I'm gonna park. I'm gonna absolutely stop here, and I'm gonna practice my team racing. Feel like 19. Maybe they're being polite to the opposition, but I know I wouldn't be. I would certainly take this as an opportunity to practice slowing another team down, and it's all good fun. Boat number 15, just a bit of a nuisance for boat number 24.
Yeah, really difficult situation that, technically they're not racing each other, but they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one wants to have that interacting race, but because we've got such large fleet numbers at this regatta, such a large amount of teams, they do roll through the racing very quickly, which is great because we've constantly got racing to watch, but also occasionally this sort of circumstance can happen in the course, and especially when you have one team that may be slightly quicker than the team that starts ahead.
Yeah, it also depends on, so this is a 1, 2, 3, fairly processional. These pink boats, that all they're really focusing on is going fast. The previous race perhaps might have had quite a lot of manoeuvres being going on earlier in their race, so therefore they can get slowed down. Obviously, the race coordinators they time everything, but this is part of team racing. Sometimes you, because your race is just a 1, 2, 3, you're just racing faster, and if the boats in the race ahead of you have been doing lots of manoeuvres and lots of team racing and slowing themselves down, then sometimes you do back up into the race ahead. Doesn't look like the pinks are too affected though. Looks like they are just overtaking both the black boats. I think even one of the greys is doing pretty well on those black boats as well.
Yeah, and looks like, not that it will come as a surprise, but looks like red is going to win this race with a 1, 2, 3. So great race sailed by red. We'll take you back to the start line shortly. We're back to the start for the start of the next youth race. Looks like we have green, luminescent green, sailing around there.
Yeah, so green will be racing orange soon enough. So green, we've got Derbyshire. This is race number 40, and in Cokethorpe is orange. So orange is Cokethorpe and green is Derbyshire. Sun is trying its best at Farmore Reservoir. We had some pretty thick fog and mist this morning, but the sun is finally getting rid of that.
We've also got the wind filling in slightly more across the course, so I would say there's a slightly more consistent direction than we potentially had earlier, so we should see some good racing coming up. They're just preparing for their start now.
Yeah, I can see that we're in sequence according to the sticks on the start boat.
It's quite an interesting course, the team racing, with the incredibly short, compact course. It adds a new element. I'm used to the fleet racing, where many of these sailors also fleet race, and it's a much more open-based course. And there's a lot more sort of tactical considerations, strategic considerations, so big picture thinking in regards to which side of the course and which tack you'll go on. And in team racing, quite often, although those strategic considerations still apply, you're a lot more thinking about what are competitors actually doing in the build-up and how to stop them executing their plan, or how am I going to execute my plan while aiming to disrupt the team members.
Yeah, absolutely. It's somewhat frenetic. Fleet racing can be, you are playing the long game. Team racing, the game just isn't that long. Races last 10 minutes on a day like today, maybe up to 15 minutes. Strangely enough, two-boat team racing can often take a little bit longer, just because it can have both teams playing back onto the boats behind them, whereas team racing, there's usually at least one of the teams is trying to attack forwards, either trying to speed up the race because they're winning. One of the best moments in team racing is when you are just on autopilot, and the opposition do something, you do something instinctively, and you don't have time to think. It's all go. There's no room for anything else, and it's mind a bit of chaos. It's what I love about it. The umpires see it coming. They're coming along to Mark 3, and they know that it's going to be a bit of chaos. And when everyone knows exactly what the other person's going to do, it then becomes a game of cat and mouse. You're double bluffing, you're triple bluffing. Inside that Mark 3, you're doing 4 or 5 jibes to get yourself in exactly the right position, but everyone else is trying to position themselves as well. And it's one of the best things about the sport. It's just the frenetic energy, and you've got to be so quick to react. And whoever makes the best decision last wins. If you make the worst decision at the last moment, you've lost it. And at this point, that's 2 green boats over. And I think...
Oh, but 1 orange boat over and 1 orange boat with a fairly slow start. So we're not too far away from even there off the line.
Yeah, so I'd say orange. Okay, orange are in 1. That's all we know at this point. It will pay whether the green's going left, see if they've got better breeze. Orange tacking over on the far hand side, 25 right behind them, so that's very close. I think green have got the best of the far pair. 27 is going to have to avoid boat number 30. 27 is on port, but the greens have got good pace. Green just coming up towards 30. They're both going to have to avoid this green boat. So this is interesting. Boat number 27 has to give room to boat number 30. They could have asked for room to tack, but no, they decided to duck underneath boat number 28. They had to give room to 30, and that's fine. It's all good. We've possibly got a 1 still for the 28s. So the orange, let's see if they can get across this boat, the green boat coming over on starboard.
It's going to be tight, but I think they're going to... One team will definitely manage it.
So one teammate ducks, 30 ducks underneath. So 28 still in first, but I think orange might be in 5-6. So 1-5-6 for the oranges, 2-3-4 for the greens. 2-3-4 pretty stable. Very difficult to break through 3 boats, but orange are doing a pretty good job, but they've got to be careful to not lose 1. I think they might have lost 1 here. 25 tacking onto starboard. Don't think 28 is going to be in a position to come back.
Oh, but there comes 29, not as far behind as you would have thought.
And 30 as well. If 30 can get a good tack, they could be on starboard as well. It feels like everyone's forgotten that you're actually trying to just get round the race course as quickly as possible.
But it does look like green have slipped round with a 1-2, which that's success.
Yeah, that is a success for the greens. They did well there. 28, you were in first. Tricky to try and break a 2-3-4 from first, especially at Mark 1. You're trying to put yourself in 3 different places. Greens done well to get themselves into first and second. I think possibly some communication from, you're talking about that big picture. Quite often you're concentrating so hard on the boat in front of you, you forget, actually, I'm just in a 1-2. I need to just go fast. And that's when having extra eyes out of the boat and communication within between your team can make all the difference. And you actually go, oh yeah, of course I'm in a 1-2. I'm just gonna sail fast now.
Yeah, exactly. And now those greens are in that 1-2 strong position. Actually, it's going to be tough for the oranges to chase them down, especially with boat 26. Their only job now is to block.
Yeah, absolutely. 26. If I were 26, I would dive onto starboard right now and just attack 29 because I can. I'm not trying to get third. I'm just trying to win this race. So I would jibe onto starboard like he is now, and just start going towards boat number 29. If you are lead boat and you haven't broken the overlap, I would then just sail them off into oblivion, and you're not losing anything. You're just making it even harder for the orange team to get into first and second.
Yeah. As Mark was saying, that's his favourite role.
Absolutely, it's just such fun. And people think that I'm being mean, but I'm not being mean. I'm just playing the game as it is written.
Exactly. There's not such aggressive action going on by the 26, but they are controlling 2 boats. So if one boat can control 2 boats and just slow them down, then that's effectively a really strong thing for boat yellow 26 to be doing, or green or yellow. It's tough to tell.
According to the website, it's green.
Green for boat green 26.
Yeah, that's a lovely gap between them, and they just extend, sail off. Great fun.
Exactly.
Maybe even try a practice a Mark IV smackdown at that point, but I think that might be a bit over aggressive for the requirements of this race.
Yeah, and so that is well done to green boats, and that is. And to confirm, that is Derbyshire that are just approaching the finish line now. Well done to them. That is a win in the books. We're going to be moving across to a new course now, so we'll update you and get you started in to a new course area. Okay, we are approaching the start of the junior race. We've moved to the junior course, so this is the 4-boat team racing. We've got blue versus
green.
In
blue is Sevenoaks Grey, and in green there is Seaford Blue. Quite nice start from all 4 boats. Bit of pace from the blues, I think. Greens have the advantage of being on the further starboard side.
Looks like greens are in a controlling position currently. They have right of way. They are stopping the blue from tacking, and really the blue, who is currently in 4th place, tacking onto port, is falling behind, it looks like. And you can see that green boat, boat 5 on the far side of your screen, almost went straight to that first mark.
Yeah, so it clearly showed that winning the boat end of that start line was massive. I think they didn't tack all the way to the windward mark, so important to win that boat end of the start line.
Yeah, and that's the greens in that coveted 1-2 position. Blues hopefully will still be maintaining hope there. They're still racing, they're still going for it. I see a blue 14 raising his hand. Not quite sure why. Potentially just a bit of frustration there.
Possibly. You can always call that someone is perhaps bending Rule 42 or something, but I didn't see anything particularly untoward from these green boats. Sailing very nicely, almost a leg ahead of the blue opposition. So this is, once again, Seaford Blue that we're looking at now, and they're doing a very nice job of it.
So that's Seaford Blue in the green boats. And they're doing a very good job, effectively racing together. Neither of them are trying to slow down the other one. They'll race and effectively as quickly as they can just to lock in this race win.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that could get complicated is the red and blues, who haven't finished their previous race. Once again, the greens have just they didn't have to do any manoeuvres. They've split up this beat, which I really love, just so that they've hedged both the best. If left pays or if right pays, one of them will benefit. And the only things they need to think about is how they interact with the boats from the other race. So they're just getting a little bit involved with another race. You are on starboard though, so green was on starboard. They had rights. Blue had to avoid, even if they're in a different on a different race. Greens again, they could possibly starboard the reds just as well, but well done for just sailing real clean there. Solid win from the greens from the get-go, straight off. Job done, very nice.
Yeah, dominant race there by the greens. We're going to take you back to the junior start line. So an update from the course. That's the racing finished for the juniors and the super juniors. So they'll be coming in now. Correction from the race crew, the juniors have finished and we'll be going to the super juniors now, the young ones, for the final race of today. That's them off. That's blue versus orange. Blue currently in a dominant position, orange trailing behind. Tacking off onto port, hopefully gaining some separation. We'll see if blue decides to tack to cover.
So in orange we've got Sevenoaks black, and in blue we've got Wolverhampton red. Blues definitely both going over the left-hand side. They were covering each other for a little bit, which is quite ineffectual, but now that the orange is tacked and both blue boats sitting on top of the orange doesn't have much options. But again, the two blue boats the way that they're positioned currently, they are covering each other slightly, so that's not perfect. But it's definitely good enough at this stage, because orange, as long as one of the orange boats are in fourth, the blues are happy.
Yeah, it looks like blue is in that 1-2 position again. The wind is slightly dropping out there in the course, but they still have got good wind on little patches of wind which they're managing to use. And these Super Juniors, they are relatively light, so when they catch a gust, you can tell.
Yeah, there's just looking down the course. There's a decent amount on the bottom reach. Just a bit of a lull up at the top mark. You can see some interesting interpretations of Rule 42 happening from the turquoise boat just in your right-hand side, but they're not racing, so don't worry. Blue boat's in a pretty solid one too, I've got to say.
Yeah, that's blue 1-2, orange 3-4. We're really happy to have brought you the racing here today live, though it was a pleasure to do the commentary. Really happy to support and bring you the action live from the Eric Twiname Championships. We've both competed in it multiple times, so great to bring you the action. We are going to be finishing the stream relatively shortly. This is the final race we're watching now for our live stream. We'll post the results on Instagram, and there'll be links online, and you can also keep in touch with the events and the developments via events.ksale.co.uk, which is really great for live results and the such. But thanks very much for tuning in. And final words from my amazing co-commentator, Mark.
Well, it's been a great pleasure. I absolutely love this competition. It's one of those competitions where you see all levels of racing, all levels of team racing, and it's honestly excellent. It's one of the best ways to get involved. There's so many people that make this weekend happen, all the way from Scotland and further. So many hours of people really working to make this event work, and just to get everyone involved and get on the water and get racing. There's no sport like team racing, just in the way that it's both team and individual, chaos and order. It's just such fun. I highly recommend it. If you're thinking of getting into team racing, have a look on the RYA website. There's loads of opportunity, and it really does build into your greater sailing and stuff like that. And also, it's just great fun, very social. And I just want to say thank you to the guys for setting all of this up. Thank you to Marinecast Media. We've had coverage like we've never had before. And congratulations finally to the boats in dark blue, Wolverhampton red, getting themselves into the first. And I'll just make sure that they get themselves into second, because once again, those orange, you always think it's over, and that orange boat is doing a pretty good job of catching up. So it is not over until it's over. Can this, at the death of the stream, can we see another upset? Orange have been in 3-4 the entire time, but it's getting pretty close.
It is getting close here, isn't it? And orange would really need to sail blue off the course in order to make this an overall turnaround, but we'll see. We'll see how they do. The closing moments of today's stream, also the closing moments of today. It's very light winds out there at the moment.
like you say, if there's a puff, just because these guys are just such lightweight sailors, then you can suddenly just have a massive change. That orange boat definitely coming in second, so the blue boats, they need to get over that finish line as quickly as possible, because that orange boat is coming up fast. Oh, this could be a close one. So orange are on starboard, blue have managed to tack. They need to just bear away, keep the pace on, get over that finish line, with orange just bearing down their necks. Once again, this is going to be close. Can orange pull off an absolutely mad finish? Blue are in first, but they're not in third just yet. They're on port and they've had to tack. Can they finish across? Orange with some pace. Too close to call.
I don't even know which way that went.
Good luck, finish boat.
Wow. And that is quite a way to wrap up the event there. We're just going to try and get you the live results of that before we end this stream. But that really wraps up our coverage here at Oxford Sailing Club. And I just want to say a huge thank you to the club for hosting us, to all the volunteers who made it happen, the RYA staff, and for all the organisation behind the scenes. The coaches, the parents, the racers who brought incredible energy this weekend in pretty tricky conditions. I'm Andy Brown. Thank you so much to Mark Taylor as well for joining us. Amazing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And do we have the updated final result? They might be taking their time with that one. We'll release the updated result from that incredibly close situation on our Instagram later, as I think they'll be looking back over the video for that little moment potentially.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for joining, and that's us signing out.